Oh, salve a tutti ragazzi, bentornati in live. Questa sera ci becchiamo il CitizenCon in live tutti quanti insieme. Ragazzuoli, come potete vedere ho modificato un po' la schermata iniziale, no? Dove ci chiacchieriamo un po' all'inizio perché fondamentalmente mi sono rotto il cazzo di mettere il telo verde dietro, quindi vaffanculo, facciamo così e chi se ne frega. Vi ho messo anche la chat box, ragazzuoli, quindi sentitevi liberi di commentare, appariranno i vostri commenti a schermo. Ragazzuoli, per stasera siamo insieme al nostro Leo della Org Fai a guardarci, goderci appunto il CitizenCon in live. Spero di riuscire a mettere i sottotitoli in tempo reale, perché in realtà l'obiettivo era quello, ma ho paura di non riuscirci. In ogni caso, nel caso doveste vedere la diretta in un secondo momento, i sottotitoli in italiano saranno comunque presenti, ma forse non riesco a metterli in tempo reale mentre la guardiamo in live. Fa lo stesso, c'è Leo che è un esperto di sti cazzi. No, scherzo, però se la cavicchia molto meglio di me in inglese, quindi ci aiuterà lui a comprendere nel caso. Quindi ragazzuoli, io che vi posso dire, siamo pronti. Andiamo subito innanzitutto a sbloccare Leo. Leo, eccoci qua, ci sei?
Ci sono.
Eccolo.
Senti?
Sì, ti sento. Stavo dicendo a tutti che in realtà io avevo promesso di mettere la live con i sottotitoli in italiano, però a quanto pare le streaming non riesco a metterle sottotitolate. I sottotitoli saranno comunque presenti al termine della live, quando la live terminerà e rimarrà sul canale come video, però in tempo reale non ci saranno i sottotitoli, almeno credo. Finora non sono riuscito a metterli, però insomma al massimo ci dai una mano tu a comprendere.
Ci provo, dai.
Ci
E
proviamo.
comunque c'è un piccolo problema, non sento l'audio della diretta.
Non senti l'audio della diretta perché l'ho mutato io, perché
Ah, ok,
per
ok.
fare cioè per iniziare qui la live. Adesso la sblocco subito.
Ci sta.
Anzi, passiamo subito alla schermata del countdown della loro diretta, eccoci qua, e mettiamo appunto il volume. Ok, eccoci qua.
Ok,
Mancano 11
perfetto,
minuti
ok.
all'inizio della diretta e vabbè, noi siamo qua pronti. Un po'
Comunque ho
alto.
scritto Verti in chat globale, perché
Sì?
solo infilarmi un attimo dentro che vuole salutare.
Sì, assolutamente. Dov'è?
Non so,
Deve
metto, l'ha scritto in
prima.
globale.
Deve prima entrare. È in una chat a
Aspetta.
caso. Adesso glielo scrivo. Ah, glielo stai scrivendo tu apposta.
Mm, Minchia, si sente così tanto?
Sì. 11 minuti interminabili di attesa.
Dai, che adesso dicono tra un'ora Nix disponibile.
Dai, prediction. Fammi una prediction su quello che verrà detto stasera.
Una
Secondo te.
prediction.
Secondo te.
Allora,
Cosa ci sparano in queste 2 ore di CitizenCon?
io speravo, cioè io
Ah,
spero facciano, parlino del nuovo modello di volo, che lo stanno testando, ma secondo me non faranno vedere niente. Mi aspetto Nix, cioè che non dico che lo dovranno far uscire domani, ma mi aspetto che ne parlino un attimo di più, visto che sarà un terzo sistema nuovo. Mi piacerebbe vedere l'inventario nuovo,
mamma mia, magari. Mamma mia,
mi piacerebbe
se
vederlo,
ce
cioè
lo
vederlo in
cacciano fuori
azione.
adesso, godo
E
di
ciao.
brutto.
No, cioè,
Allora,
non
aspetta che
è...
faccio entrare Verti e chiediamo anche a lui. Oi là,
Oh, Verti,
dottore. Verti?
sparito.
Vabbè, io l'ho fatto entrare, si vede che si è allontanato momentaneamente. Oppure hai il
Poi
microfono
qualcos'altro.
staccato, Verti. Vabbè, comunque. Dicevi, sì, l'inventario. Guarda, per
L'inventario
me
nuovo,
possono
sì.
anche solo metterci l'inventario nuovo e dire, ragazzi, abbiamo rimandato tutto il resto. Io sono contento lo stesso.
Sì, cioè, più che altro lo voglio vedere in azione, perché se non sbaglio l'anno scorso hanno fatto vedere soltanto un'immagine e
Mamma mia.
basta.
Sì.
E sì, ed era sicuramente molto più bello rispetto a quello di adesso.
Cosa importante
Quindi
è
non
che
vedo l'ora.
funzioni, perché se me lo cambi ma
Eh,
funziona di merda come questo,
eh,
tanto valeva.
quello, quello è sempre così. Cioè, ormai il gioco lo conosciamo tutti, sappiamo tutti com'è. E altro che adesso mi viene in mente... vabbè, sicuramente faranno vedere delle navi nuove. tipo mi piacerebbe vedere, no, se non sbaglio dovrebbero presentare, far uscire a breve la Paladin, ma su questo non sono sicuro. Mi piacerebbe vedere la Perseus, che la Perseus dicono che sia una anti-capital forse, una roba del genere.
Non lo so. Oh, mi si è staccata una lente. Ok, a posto, l'ho rimessa. Che diavolo.
Però sì, più o meno le cose sono queste.
Niente, vediamo che cosa hanno in serbo. Nel frattempo Verti si è mutato, si vede che si era allontanato un momento.
Però, come già ti dicevo, già che parlino soltanto di Star Citizen e lasciano stare momentaneamente il discorso Squadron 42, secondo me ci sta.
Sì.
Ci sta.
Che è quello che vogliono un po' tutti, secondo me.
Sì.
Perché sì, ok, quello lo giocheremo sicuramente.
Sì, sicuramente. Cioè, poi dai video, dal cast che hanno e tutto, sicuramente sarà un giocone, ecco.
Sarà sicuramente un bel titolo. Però vogliamo tutti più Star Citizen e meno,
bravo,
meno Squadron.
esatto, esattamente. Vediamo.
Niente, peccato, veramente mi spiace, per il momento non mi dà la possibilità di mettere i sottotitoli. Credo che sarà così anche dopo, onestamente. Però, vabbè, ripeto ragazzi, se per caso ve la state guardando in un secondo momento, la diretta ve la state guardando magari domani, perché rimarrà sul canale, quindi nel caso in cui non vi va di vederlo stasera con i sottotitoli senza sottotitoli, la potete sempre vedere domani, che avrà al 100% i sottotitoli in italiano. Ma comunque dai, si intenderà più o meno cosa ci parleranno.
No, ma poi sono sicuro che tra domani e dopodomani usciranno una marea di video che parleranno appunto di quello del CitizenCon, quindi dove sicuramente spiegheranno tutte le cose nei minimi dettagli. Però sono gasato, non so perché, sono abbastanza gasato.
Perché secondo me qualche bombetta la tirano stasera.
Ma figa, cazzo devono farlo, dai.
Non si sa cosa, ma ho un pelo bianco della barba, guarda questo qui. Io non si riuscivo a tirarlo via.
È l'età, player. È l'età.
Porca puttana. Che cazzo è successo?
Questo è Apix che va a climarsi la nave. Che cos'è sta roba?
Non lo so, ma fa strano.
Oddio.
Perché non vanno gli ascensori? Lo sanno, vedi? Lo sanno anche loro.
Lo sanno. Però è vero che hanno detto che volevano sistemare un attimo, gli ascensori, cambiare un attimo a livello tecnico come funzionavano e tutto. Però che video stupido.
Che cazzo di scenetta era?
Dovete cambiare, ma cosa dite?
Eccolo
Verti, eccolo.
Bella Verti, com'è?
Ciao ragazzi.
Come andiamo?
Meglio.
La gamba?
La piego, faccio gli esercizi, mi fa ancora un po' male, ma
ok. Beh, però si sta riprendendo pian piano.
Sì, piano piano mi sto rimettendo a posto.
Meno male.
Per novembre sono a casa,
con la
ti rendi conto? Per novembre sono a casa, a novembre.
Madonna.
Voglio andare a casa prima.
Che spatti, cazzo.
Porca troia, un mese e mezzo fuori casa.
Porca miseria.
Adesso infatti ci va mio fratello a casa mia, ti rendi conto? Che cazzo.
E niente, Verti, stasera c'è il CitizenCon, te lo guardi con noi o ci abbandoni?
Adesso mangio, che i miei figli mi hanno fatto ordinare il ramen. Mangiamo.
Ci sta.
E poi mi rimetto a guardare, sicuramente. Va bene?
Ci sta.
T'avverto, quando rientro t'avverto, va bene?
Beh sì, anche perché purtroppo devo buttarti dentro manualmente. Tu scrivi che ci...
Mi infilo in un canale vocale, mi vedi, sì?
Sì, no, vabbè, nel caso scrivi, perché potrei essere distratto.
Sì, ti scrivo qua nella chat, va bene?
Perfetto.
A dopo, ragazzi.
Bella Verti.
Va bene. Ciao.
Nel frattempo mancano solo 4 minuti. Sì, stasera ho cenato prima anch'io. Volevo essere
tutto
qua.
per questo. Vado in bagno e arrivo.
Bella, bella. 3 minuti, solo 3 minuti, ragazzuoli. E vedremo di che morte dovremo morire in questo CitizenCon di me. Niente, comunque benvenuti a tutti gli spettatori che ci stanno guardando in questo momento. Ragazzuoli, battete un colpo, lasciate un messaggino nei commenti che così vi vedo, perché sennò non vedo chi siete. Se avesse commentato vi posso salutare. E niente, vi ricordo che c'è la chat box nel caso in cui voleste commentare, i vostri commenti appariranno a schermo. Che dire, ragazzuoli, vediamoci sta scenetta, va. La cruz. C'è un cestino lì. Che cazzo, raga, sto troppo fuori questi.
One day.
Che cazzo. Oh, sanno cosa succede comunque, a quanto pare. Sanno perfettamente cosa fanno i player. Bellissimo. Che stavo dicendo, ragazzuoli? Che Leo, ti sei perso una scenetta che mi ha fatto morire.
Ok.
Un'altra scenetta da panico hanno buttato fuori.
Ci sta, fighe ste cose qua. Almeno lo sanno comunque, ci sono degli errori comunque, dai.
Beh, cazzo, mi pare anche il minimo quello, onestamente. Però che ci facciano la scenetta sopra e ti facciano anche ridere, quando in realtà quando ti succede bestemmi come un animale.
Bestemmi, esatto.
È simpatico, dai. Te la ridono loro, capito?
Apix ha scritto e ha chiesto di...
Eccolo qui.
Dentro.
Sposta in... Eccoci qua. Eccolo qui Apix, però è mutato.
Bella Apix.
È mutato, quando si vede che si è allontanato anche lui. Si allontanano tutti, scrivono e poi scappano. E che stavo a dire? Niente, ragazzuoli, manca 1 minuto e 50. Prima dell'inizio vi ricordo di passare dal canale, iscrivervi se non l'avete ancora fatto, così non vi perdete le prossime live stream su Star Citizen, i prossimi video in generale. In descrizione trovate il link per mettere il gioco in italiano, nel caso in cui vi interessasse averlo in italiano, è possibile. In descrizione trovate i vari link che vi portano a scaricare la versione, cioè la traduzione in italiano. È tutto scritto lì, come si fa, non vi preoccupate, cliccate, vedete. Poi inoltre volevo ricordarvi anche di... se vi interessa giocare con un org, volete venire a giocare insieme a noi, magari iniziare anche a far parte dell'org, divertirvi tutti quanti insieme, trovate il link del nostro canale Discord sempre giù in descrizione. Il link del nostro Discord che si chiama FAI, Fondazione Astronauti Italiana. Niente. Questo è quanto. Manca 1 minuto, il tempo che ci vuole a reclamare una cutter dopo aver pagato, però. Quindi siamo agli sgoccioli, sta per iniziare.
Ecco, spero parlino anche delle LT, di come effettivamente funzionerà.
E delle nuove promozioni, probabilmente, anzi sicuramente usciranno dei pacchetti con l'LT, spero perché li sto aspettando da quando ho iniziato a giocare. Devo fare degli upgrade particolari. Devo fare delle chain assurde.
Rido se crasha la stream loro però. Cioè...
Apix sta facendo gli straordinari, ha detto. Boh.
Ah, perché c'ha sua figlia.
Ah, ok. E niente. Vediamo.
Buona visione.
3, 2, 1. Eccolo là.
This year has marked a turning point in Star Citizen's history. We have finally moved past the question of whether we can build an architecture to deliver a universe with incredible detail at massive scale, seamlessly, and where thousands of people can all play together. Server meshing has been working pretty much flawlessly at scale for the past 9 months. It has brought a more populated and active verse, with up to 700 players online and in the same space at once. It's greatly increased server performance and delivered a much more responsive player experience. I couldn't be prouder of the team. They delivered something no other online game does presently. There may be other games out there that claim large player counts, or even the ability to mesh, but none do it at our detail, scale, and seamlessness. Of course, there will be continued improvements to server meshing and to Star Engine, but having moved past this last big technological hurdle has allowed us to finally focus on quality of life and stability improvements, something that has long been overdue. We're about to deliver our 9th patch in 10 months, with content that has brought Star Citizen storytelling into new and exciting directions. We pushed more than 24 features and more than 2,000 bug fixes. And while there is still a long way to go, the game has gotten more stable, performant, and fun as a result. We see this in player metrics. More of you play every day. The daily average users is up 45% from last year, and your play time is up 15%. So more people venture out into the verse and stay there longer than ever before. And through all that, we've told the dual stories of the Frontier Fighters' assault on Pyro and the moral compromises being made to combat the regen crisis. Now, as those stories come to a rest for the time being, it's time to look forward to the next chapter of Star Citizen, where the instability in Pyro and the callous actions of some pave the way to new adventures, new locations, and new threats. Last year, we announced our next Star Citizen would be Nyx, home to the People's Alliance of Levski and bordering the Vandal threat. Today, we're proud to share that your adventures in Nyx begin not next year, but next month, when Star Citizen comes online in Alpha 4.4. 2 new systems in one year. That's only possible because of the tireless work of our development teams, server meshing accelerating what's possible, the support teams behind the scenes, and most importantly, all of you. Now, I do miss that we're not all together under one roof this year, but in many ways, we're more connected than ever. Across the globe, many of you are gathering at watch parties, 9 of them with our developers in attendance, and countless others springing up in communities everywhere, and all happening simultaneously today. So even if we're separated by oceans and continents, we're bound together by the same passion for space, for discovery, and for this incredible universe we're building together. Whether you're at home or alongside your crew at a watch party, grab a drink, sit back, and let us take you inside our up-and-coming plans for the next year of Star Citizen.
Beh, a parte Nix non ha detto
granché, sì, era
granché, cioè so che ha riassunto un attimo l'anno dicendo che appunto il server meshing sta funzionando bene.
A lui?
E che hanno e che hanno notato un aumento esponenziale dei player nel verse e così via. Però Nyx mese prossimo top.
Con la 4.4 mi pare di aver sentito, no?
Non l'ho capito, mi sono fermato a Nyx e mese prossimo.
Ti si è chiusa la vena.
Sì. E che lui inizialmente fa non rilasceremo Nyx l'anno prossimo, ma lo rilasceremo tra un mese. Pensavo dicesse non rilasceremo Nyx l'anno prossimo, ma tra 2 anni. E lì avrei spento tutto.
Technology now in place, the content development of the game is no longer restricted, allowing us to forge ahead with building out our first 5-star systems. Nyx will see the much-loved Levski landing zone added back to the verse, while also bringing you one of its most iconic landmarks, the Glacium Belt. Here, you'll experience a new combined arms operation that will introduce new factions and new adventures for you to discover. With this edition of our 3rd star system, we're also going to do something that's at the heart of the entire Star Citizen experience, and that is to build it right in front of you. As we have done this year, with the addition of several major locations, such as the Hathor facility or the Lazarus complex, we will continue to unveil new Nyx content throughout the year. It's a slightly different approach to how we deliver Pyro, but we feel this gets the content into your hands sooner and shows our intent as we continue our march towards 1.0. I'm so incredibly proud of the work our teams have done and are continuing to do. And we're excited
Apix ha chiesto se Nyx avrà gli ascensori funzionanti.
And as with any journey in Star Citizen, that begins with a little story.
In 2025, we introduced 2 major storylines spanning multiple patches, creating a living backbone for adventure across the universe. The first was Pyro Must Burn. It connected Stanton to Pyro and introduced the Frontier Fighters, who are relentless, brutal, and determined to wipe out any threats that cross them. And with this month's release, you'll now take part in the conclusion to that storyline. The second was Science Run Amok, with the regen crisis throwing the Empire into chaos, and you all jumping in to help the various corporations respond. Through that journey, we pulled back the curtain on ASD and its shady practices, uncovering long-forgotten Onyx facilities, and met new characters like Dr. Logan Yorit and Detective Arkham Mella of the Hokro Agency. And just like the Pyramus Burn storyline carried us into a new system, Science Run Amok is now setting the stage for Nyx, the next step in the larger story we're telling on the road to 1.0. As this new chapter of Star Citizen begins, let's hear from just a few of the team members working to bring this next era of our universe to life.
Ho parlato un po' della lore che c'è in atto adesso nel verse, quindi la Regen Crisis, ASD, eccetera, eccetera.
Came out and did scans and kind of found out that the system wasn't really worth settling. The planets were too hard to terraform, the resources were too tough to get, so they opened it up. And one company saw opportunity where the UE didn't, QV Planet Services. And so they expanded into the system and tried to mine as much as they could, making a very slim margin by
Tra l'altro, questa stazione spaziale qua che stai vedendo, vabbè, non era esattamente così, era un po' più piccola, che si chiama Levski, mi sa. C'era agli inizi al posto di Grimex. Al posto di Grimex c'era questa stazione spaziale qua chiamata appunto Levski, che era un po' in stile Grimex, quindi sempre dentro l'asteroide e così via.
The dictatorship of the Messer regime that was going on in the Empire at the time.
Adesso l'hanno spostata in un altro sistema.
Sì, ha messo Grimex, da lì non ne hanno più parlato di Levski, e adesso è su Nyx.
They set up what they saw as their ideal society, where everyone's voices would be heard, where everyone would be equal. But they've fallen onto hard times. So Nyx today is kind of at an interesting point in its history. Now that the UE has kind of transformed itself into a democratic society, what is their role? What are the People's Alliance rebelling against? And they still see the Empire as being inherently unfair. They see their role as still trying to create.
Beh, sta parlando di tutta la lore che c'è di Star Citizen.
And there's new threats lurking around.
Sì, stanno introducendo un po' quello che sarà.
Sì.
Or do they need to turn to the UE for help?
Cioè, sta raccontando un po' come è suddiviso Nyx, che tipo di governo c'è e così via.
Adesso ci spiegano come hanno fatto.
You approach it from kind of two angles in a weird way. What is this system bringing to the gallery? How does this new system plug into it, and what does it bring to the table from a sort of a flavor experience? We want to make sure that whatever it's bringing to the company is unique and has some flair to it.
So the Nyx system is a remote system where people want to go and live free outside of the pressure and influence of the UE. It's a remote and rugged system with a lot of hostility coming from the ever-present threat of Vandal.
It's kind of like a frontier-esque thing. It's not lawless like Pyro, it's just kind of out there. Pyro's more like a Mad Max wasteland, and Nyx is more like Silverado or like Deadwood, right? It's kind of like a smaller scope.
The emptiness and the loneliness is.
Tra l'altro su Nyx dicono che c'è anche una parte del sistema solare dove ci sono i Vandal.
Sì,
quella razza aliena che abbiamo visto nell'Onyx.
They were unhappy with the direction that the Empire was going under the Messers. They got out. They said, we're just going to start from scratch, build our own society, but build it the way that we think it needs to be built.
They're not perfect. They're just people, but they're doing their best. They want to help keep Nyx safe and make it prosper.
They are trying to do the best that they can, but are faced with the realities of dealing with people, which is tricky.
Dici che è più difficile di quello che sembra, bla bla bla, si stanno giustificando un po', ecco.
Stanton Star is quite neutral, and the Nyx is a little bit cooler. The system has its star, and it has this dark really, really dense gas, sort of nebulous cloud. And it has points of light scattered around it, and those points of light in this gas cloud is really, really hazy. So because Nix is bordering Vandal space, it was important that we have a gap in the Nix gas cloud where you could sort of just, in between the clouds, see a piece of the Vandal space.
Eccoli, vedi quella zona rossa? Quello è il territorio Vandal.
Some red light. The level designers are using it as an actual visual indicator of where to place more dangerous POIs. So if you point your ship in the direction of it, you should find, as we build it out, that you will be in more and more danger. And I think that's really cool.
Cioè sostanzialmente hanno detto che volevano un punto del sistema un po' più pericoloso e l'hanno reso rosso in modo da darti l'impressione che è appunto pericoloso come posto. Cioè tu puoi andare ovviamente lì sicuramente, ci saranno delle missioni da fare, saranno immagino toste.
You'll see the reflections and sort of like little glints of light. For the jump points in Nix, we'll have 2 on this release. We'll have one from Pyro to Nix and one from Stanton to Nix.
Ok.
Be going from
ne avremo uno su tutte e
Castro,
due.
but we're essentially
Esatto.
bypassing Castro.
Meno male.
Meno male sì.
Hey, we want to make sure you can get there any way you want.
Un jump
Meno
point
male,
sia su
figa.
Stanton che su Pyro, buono.
Sì, sì, sì.
Huge asteroid belt that is in sort of the middle of the system.
Glacian belt is a combination of a bunch of technologies that we already had. The asteroid fields we use for planetary rings and the gas clouds, and it's combining them to make something completely new that we've just not seen before.
It's full of resources that are still left unharvested because it's kind of a tricky spot for mining. It's not the easiest place to go, but that means that there's still a lot of opportunity for independent miners to go out there.
So the rocks in Nix are a bit more sharp, like sort of like icy look, rocky, cliff-like, very different from those in the Pyro and the Stanton.
One of the big differences too is all of that extra added movement that just adds a little bit of extra flair.
Guarda quanti asteroidi su cui ci potremmo schiantare.
Li prenderemo tutti, cioè io li prendo tutti.
Sì, 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 ma ci hanno anche resi più grossi, si sa mai.
Always feel way more interesting flying in those spaces than just, you know, empty void.
And as we build out the Glacian belt over the next year, lots of places to put new content.
Delamar is a very large asteroid in the Glacian belt that QV Planet Services had built a mining base on that got taken over by the People's Alliance and renamed Levski.
Levski is our first and biggest social outpost for Nix.
It's kind of like the place where you stop before you do your panning. So it's kind of a San Francisco before you go out to the gold rush.
It's going to be the central hub for trade and hauling and
Alziamo un po' il volume, va.
commerce within Nix and also from Nix to other systems. But it does have a CD underlayer to it.
No, da come la sta mettendo giù, mi sa che Levski sarà l'unico punto, diciamo, grande che ci sarà su Nix.
Specific point to make large explorable
Cioè,
location.
tipo su Pyro abbiamo Obituary, Checkmate, eccetera eccetera, su Stanton abbiamo tutte le varie città e così via. Mi sa che qua avremo soltanto Levski.
Ciao Simone, benvenuto.
Levski is immediately apparently unique by the fact that it's
Anthony, dimmi se
it's a
si sente
facility
meglio
clamped
adesso.
onto the side of an asteroid. The
Bella,
breathtaking
Anthony.
views of looking into the belt instantly gives it a unique charm and flavor.
As you approach, you'll initially see a very dramatic borehole that goes all the way through the asteroid. You'll also see, growing out from there and
Bello.
alongside Levski, there will be landing pads along what I'd call the spine. Lots of industrial pipes and transport systems to bring
Sì,
out the
tra un mese
refined
uscirà
mining
Nix,
materials when it was
nuovo
a mining
sistema, tra un mese
station.
con la prossima patch, quella
Before,
dopo di questa, a
we were
quanto pare.
using an actual planet, so we had all of the
Perché
space
vedo due volte
available
i commenti?
to place all of these structures. But
Questa
now
è
it
una
kind of
cosa
meant that we had to create an asteroid which has the appropriate size to.
If we took the whole shot of the asteroid, you will see that there is an area to fly underneath. We plan on bringing in hull C gameplay, so this is exterior cargo elevators, so as a team
Figo.
you will be able to load and unload cargo.
Questo l'hanno già fatto vedere, però è una figata.
On the exterior,
Tutte le
such
ulsi
as
lì.
the cargo trains going around tracks. It's now going to be fully EVA-able. There will be walkways around the main landing zone to walk on using gravity plates, but you can drift off and kind of go wherever you want.
Cioè, hai visto che tipo è misto, cioè c'è gravità misto Eva?
The whole place, which is great.
Che figata.
Figo sì.
Unlike the majority of anarchists living in Pyro, there are people here in Nix that care.
It's not a downtrodden or derelict, dilapidated location. It has a sense of order.
But only where the People's Alliance has people living.
Ok, adesso si
We've had
dovrebbe
Levski
sentire meglio,
before,
scusate.
and we've updated it quite substantially to be more
che barba.
in line with the newer features that have been put in since, but also visually. And there's been a lot of quality of life fixes that we've wanted to add and bring up to like a good standard for a landing zone.
Facing the main lobby of Levski is a large statue of Anthony Tanaka, who was a child worker.
And was being worked to death, all of them were. And Anthony Tanaka just had a break and just said no.
No,
and
pare
stood
che
up against
Nix sarà
the
un
foremen,
sistema
the
dove
supervisors, the
per
managers,
metà
the guards,
sarà governato
and was
appunto
killed for it.
da...
And so he
penso da
became
lui.
a sort of a figurehead.
L'altra
And
metà
kind
sarà
of
governato
was
dai Vandul,
one of the
a
linchpin
quanto pare.
moments in seeing the fall of the Messer regime.
In eterno conflitto, credo, da quello che si è capito.
So
Cioè,
if you
più
take
che lui,
the elevator up to the
il
top
governo
deck,
che c'è
you'll
su
see
Nix,
the
da come
top
l'hanno
view
spiegato loro,
and the
sono
cargo
semplicemente delle
area as
persone
well.
che erano
So
stanche
you go through the
dell'UE
cargo shop.
Ok.
e si sono
You've got your
staccate
normal
per
kind of
creare
cargo
un loro
needs.
governo.
You have ability
Cioè,
to
quindi sì,
trade
ci saranno appunto, ci sarà questo governo qua che si chiama la People's Alliance
Ok, sì.
e ci saranno i
So if you were to
Vandul,
die in
più
the next
ovviamente
system,
anche
then
i
one of the
Frontier
places you might
Fighters,
come
che
up
sono
from
quelli
is
che
the
combatteremo
hospital in Levski,
nella
which is
prossima
called the Mercy
patch.
Hospital.
Ok,
Che
ci
sono
delle
tipo...
Mercy Hospital is
abitazioni,
basically
ci sono.
Esatto,
a, local
esatto.
med
Cioè i
station
Frontier
for all
Fighter sono un
the
po' tipo gli
residents of
Xenotret,
Levski,
to.
Anybody traveling through the
Sì,
system,
all'incirca,
again,
va,
trying to
tipo
provide
Sky.
as
Sì.
good medical help for people as they can.
When you arrive at the hab's location, you'll be presented with a lobby, elevator bank, and then you will take that transit to the
Ci hanno
hab
detto che
room.
Nix rispetto a Pyro non è così
So, within that
anarchica
room will be pods.
perché c'è
And that's
comunque
where
una specie
the
di governo che,
miners would
tra
have lived.
virgolette, controlla. Ma
They're not the
ovviamente non sarà
nicest,
controllato
they're a bit messy,
quanto
but
Stanton.
they're a home for people in Levski. If you head down to the lower view deck, you'll go through into the Grand Barter, which is your main social and commercial area of Levski.
This is where you will see
sì.
market sellers selling their wares. There will be stalls. There will be kind of more embedded shops.
Il mercato è rimasto uguale
And that includes
come
things
era
like
5 anni fa.
Corderies, which is your armor shop, and also conscientious objects, which is for weapons. There's also one of my favorite places, Café Musée, which is where you can go down into some of the more rocky depths and
E all'epoca, quando giravo in quella zona lì, se mi andava bene facevo 20 fps, se mi andava bene.
If you explore a bit more around the Grand Barter, there's other routes around and little side passages. There's another shop that's away from that area called Teachers.
Teach a Ship Shop is basically where you would go if you were looking to pick up a used ship, buy some ship parts, fix up your old ship, find some new stuff, sell some scrap.
We've closed up Dumpers Depot for Levski, and everything that used to be sold there will now be sold at Teachers. Another new area, as well as the cargo shop that we've added, is the refinery deck for Levski. That's where you can take your processed goods, not just from Levski, but from the rest of the Nix system, and refine and sell those goods there.
Sono posti che
as a lot of the content in the next coming releases for Nix is going to be mining related. So it's super important that Levski is a really nice hub for mining type
ai tempi poi comunque non era così grande, cioè non c'era neanche la zona cargo, la zona raffineria, però visto come è diventato Star Citizen dovevano aggiungerlo chiaramente.
Sì, probabilmente all'inizio, Anthony, andranno tutti lì e quindi i server
love it and are working their hardest to make it a great place to live.
This is a location that has a lot of nostalgia for you guys, and we don't want this just to be a re-release. We do want you to go, wow.
It's not going to be as complete as Pyro was when it first came out, but it's going to be our first iteration, and you're going to be able to see it grow as we work on it.
Like with everything, we're always learning and improving and finding new ways.
I mean, is there anything more Star Citizen than just building the system while the players watch us build it around them?
It's going to add a nice dynamic to Stanton and be a much more calming of, style system than Pyro.
The people that would have played it before are going to love to see this come back, and the people that haven't seen it before, it's going to be a great new location.
This is the first time that I'm going to be able to touch stuff and kind of bring my own content to the game, and that's really exciting to me.
Levski coming back into the game is a huge milestone personally for me. So I worked on the original quite some time ago, so seeing it come back and updated and improved and better is fantastic.
Bello, bello, bello.
Something wicked this way comes.
So we've talked about Levski, we've talked about the Glacian Belt, but you're probably asking yourself, what's the new gameplay activity we're going to be doing? So let's find out.
Welcome to Nix is your first experience in a new space station in a new solar system.
It's a mystery to be solved. There's things for the player to explore and look into. There's going to be some twists and turns, of course, some combat, and if you're lucky enough to survive, maybe some good rewards.
This is basically a continuation of kind of our ASD storyline. So in the closing out what we had called our Science Run Amok storyline, we had revealed that ASD had been procuring sort of very black market illegal stuff in order to conduct their experiments. So this mission is basically going to be continuing on that trail.
So the Navy has learned that illegal tech is being sold in the UAE, and they're hiring Intersect to investigate. Intersect Defense Solutions is the leading military defense contractor in the UAE. So the Navy contracts with them a lot for doing various kind of military operations that they don't want to handle themselves. We didn't want players to be working directly for the Navy. The Navy just doesn't call up random citizens and ask like, hey, if you're free, can you fly a helicopter? I guess as a player, when you can think about like, oh, where am I going to be doing missions that are capital ship battles or large fleet scale stuff or military operations, that's all going to come from Intersect Defense Solutions. Intersect have discovered the source of the illegal tech is in the Nix system and an old abandoned QV Planet Services logistics station that's come back online.
So they want the players to figure out what's going on.
So when you come out of Quantum and you start your approach vector to the objective, you'll be weaving through asteroids, going through the Glacian Belt, and slowly the station will reveal itself. Now this is an old QV logistics station. It's pretty beat up, it's pretty derelict, but there's some points of interest that you'll spot as you go through. So the station itself shares design keys from old Pan Am stations found in Pyro. This architectural design found its way over to the Nix system as the system was being established. But you'll also see some additional design cues that QV planetary services were adding, so it's a nice transition architectural point. It's fairly skeletal in design. You'll see logistics yards and cargo yards, but also facilities pinned inside the asteroid, creating this network.
L'evento su Nix ci porterà in questa stazione qua.
Near the main hub. It's not a normal Polaris. It's damaged, it's broken. It's not a standard corporate Polaris. So at this point, you should be asking yourself, who does this belong to? Away from the Polaris, you'll see struts leading to asteroid bases. Now, these asteroid bases are locked, so you don't know exactly what's inside just yet. But all of this comes together to form the playground for the mission to take place. So not only is this facility unabandoned, but it's also under attack from a surprising but familiar foe.
Bandul? Sì. Eh sì, Oddio, una nave nuova? O è la Blade?
No, mi sembra... No?
No! Cos'è sta roba? Vecchio...
Quella lì è la Blade, a destra. O no?
No, è la Glaive, è simile. Però questa qua a sinistra, quella grande...
Sì, è nuova, è nuova.
The Vandal.
Vecchio, sono gasatissimo.
So the Vandal are a nomadic, very violent spacefaring race.
They've been striking out against outposts and such in the Nix system. They don't really know what they want, don't know why they're doing it, but it seems like whoever's running the station is really pissed them off.
Vandal raiding parties have been rioting in the system, and they're unaffiliated to any clan. The small groups coming in and picking at them. But as time
Cioè, qui tu
goes
magari
on,
stai minando per i
those
cazzi
raids
tuoi, ti
get
possono arrivare i
bigger
Vandul dal nulla.
and more frequent.
They'll be the signs that you're familiar
perché
with.
sono
Glaives and blades that
continua
we all know
guerra.
and hate.
Sì.
Warcraft for the PU, the Vandal
Sì. Ah, Stinger si chiama.
You will be contacted by some civilians on arrival asking you for help.
So at this point, you have a choice. You can either bug
No,
out,
vabbè, la
mission
Siulen
over,
fa schifo,
or
ma
join the fight.
le altre sono buone. Abbastanza.
This will be the first
Decenti.
time since the PU launch that you'll be able to fight against Vandal aggressor ships.
This fight will be intense. The player should be able to deal with them, but they will have to be prepared and they'll have to come back in to fight off this initial wave, and that won't be the end of it.
Quello lì era fattissimo, secondo me.
After you fight off the Vandal ships, the mysterious inhabitants of the station invite you to come on board.
Which INSEC sort of will encourage you to do because it'll help further their investigation against what's happening here, why these QB stations have come back online.
You dock your ship, you board the station, and it turns out the inhabitants here have a real surprise for you.
The player will be immediately ambushed. These guys are not your friends.
Of course, it's not going to be easy because the people that are inhabiting the station are going to fight you every step of the way.
The fight will be challenging, but this definitely will be the warm-up phase of this mission. This will be the players getting a sense of what exactly is going on there, who these new people are. They'll be in unfamiliar armor. They'll be wielding unfamiliar weapons. And we want you to get a sense that you are in a new place, in a new territory, fighting a new faction.
Fazione nuova, detto.
So after you survive this initial ambush, you get back in touch with INSEC, and obviously the question is, who are these people? Why are they attacking? Why are the Vandal attacking them?
At this point, there's more going on here than anyone thought. The directive from INSEC is to explore the station and collect as much information as you possibly can.
Along the way, you're going to get to explore some new areas.
It's not just the space station. There's the disabled capital ship. There's asteroid bases
Comunque, se noti, non
with
c'è il
obvious
Command Ray.
installations there, other forces that the Vandal have been attacking. There's a
Hai visto?
debris
Non c'è il
field.
simbolino del Command Ray. Cioè, quindi
and try to find out who these people are and why the Vandal are after them.
È una mezza cinematica.
Ok, dici per quello?
Space station.
Non ci sono neanche gli altri indicatori.
Find out what kind of loot they have for you now that you beat them.
And of course, this is a legally open station, so anything you find is yours to keep and
ci saranno tipo dei Command Ray solo in alcune zone, credo, e questa è una mia supposizione.
This isn't just a one-time event, this is a permanent sort of mission.
Il tipo ha detto che qualsiasi cosa tu trovi lì dentro te la puoi tenere. Cioè, quindi sicuramente ci sarà del loot. E se non c'è il Command Ray, sicuramente, cioè probabile ci saranno magari anche altri player.
Based on the evidence that you found.
Now you know the real story and you can start digging and giving more information to Intersect along the way.
Cioè, a meno che non facciano come hanno fatto con le Onyx, che ne hanno fatte tante di Onyx per evitare che la gente si incontri.
I'm super excited to finally see the Van Duel in the PU.
I'm excited to bring cool Van Duel ship combat to SC.
Players in the PU will now get to face down these awesome ships and get a taste of like we already have it in Arena Commander, where you get to fight the Vandal Swarm, and being able to do that in the PU is going to be, I think, a heck of a lot of fun.
So this marks a great
ancora non si
milestone
sono
for
visti
Spero,
sti Vandal,
not only
però,
pushing hard and adding great content this year, we're also being able to introduce the
Sì,
next star
secondo me
system
li vediamo
and
soltanto in
introducing the
nave, cioè
next
non li vedremo
landscape
in
to tell new stories
cioè a piedi,
and add new
in
gameplay
FPS.
beats into the
Purtroppo.
ever-expanding
Sì, ma non li
universe.
fanno neanche vedere
So we'll leave
nella
4.4
cinematica,
there.
voglio dire.
If you're at one of the
Della
watch
nave-
parties,
la
please
nave ci
raise a
sarà pure
toast
un
to the
pilota,
great
no?
work that all the teams
Se mi
have been
avvicino,
doing this
apro la
year.
nave, devo
And I'll be right
trovarci un
back in
corpo
just a few
dentro,
minutes
no?
to look ahead at some of the things coming
Quello
in
sì, infatti non so
2026.
come faranno lì.
No, ma secondo
Ma
me
perché comunque
esiste.
Hello everyone! Cioè, Squadron 42
And welcome to the Voyager
verso la
bar
fine
in
di
beautiful scenic
presentazione hanno fatto
Orison,
vedere
where the staff of Cloud Imperium Games
Vandal,
Manchester is gathered for their
Però era
very own
comunque una
CitizenCon
cinematica.
Direct Watch Party. As the
questo è il watch
dozens of
party
such
che
events
stanno
happening at locations around the world, we've gathered today to watch this sneak peek at just a little of what the next year of Star Citizen has in store
Guarda
for
che
everyone.
facce i giocatori di Star
Oh,
Citizen.
that was really good, everybody. I'm Jared Huckabee, your host for the
Che facce
festivities
che hanno
and for the
i
show
player.
today. And let me tell you, it's not a joke, it's not a gag. Next week, we're hitting our 9th patch in 10 months, and then in November,
Settimana
we're going to
prossima
finish out
patch.
the year strong with the long-awaited arrival of the Nix system. And in case you missed it, because you were
settimana
chatting with
prossima.
friends, hi. It's not the lawless wasteland of Pyro many folks have been speculating, but an independent system with its own set of rules and laws and multiple ways to get there. It's an exciting time for everyone at Cloud Imperium Games because, as the architects of our persistent universe said at the start of the show, the foundational tech that we've been building for so many years has now unlocked us to bring more to Star Citizen than ever
Da come l'ha
before
messo
as
giù
we
ha detto che
continue our
Nix
journey
sarà una
towards
via di
1.0.
mezzo, diciamo,
Now,
tra
before we
Stanton e
continue with the
Pyro.
show, let's get a few housekeeping tasks out of the way.
Ci sta.
First, we're simulcast on YouTube and Twitch. So if you want the keen communities of Twitch or the 4K ultra high resolution of YouTube, you have your choice. Second, throughout the broadcast today, we want to see and hear what you have to say along the way, and you can tell us on social media by using hashtag CitizenCon. We're especially interested to see any photos from those watch parties that are happening across the globe, and we're going to find some way to bring a few of them into the broadcast later in the program. Third, we've also had a CitizenCon contest going for people to create their very own slice of life in the PU videos, and we played the winning entries during our pre-show countdown. The offerings were super varied. The idea was to work with a team to show the life of a miner or a hauler or a bounty hunter or whatever. But one guy just said, I'm going to make a video about how awesome I am, and I respect that. So shout out Nocturnal Revenant. I don't remember if you were one of the winners getting an L21 Wolf from Kruger for
Ragazzi,
but you won
lo
the
salone entra
Disco
per
Lando
darvi la
Complete
buonanotte
Narcissist
e
Award.
farvi spendere tanto.
And to all the winners, I'm sure someone will either be in touch with you about your
Buonanotte.
or they'll just show
No,
up on
no,
your
no, no, no.
accounts.
Dovevo dormire un'ora fa.
Vabbè, dai, te la becchi domani con i sottotitoli.
Sì.
Either way, if you missed the pre-show
Buona
and are
serata a
curious if
tutti.
you won, you can check the replay
Bella,
after we're
Charger.
done here today. All right. I just realized that my bosses, Chris and Sandy, are sitting in a movie theater watch party in Switzerland right now. A completely captive audience. So real behind the scenes here. This is especially torturous for Chris right now because he's super excited about the next segment we've got coming up. Aren't you, Chris? And you're just sat there right now, forced to watch and listen to anything I say. Either of you regret that decision so long ago?
Ma perché la smetti di fare
All right, so I've
pagliacci?
probably
Si
pushed
dice
my luck enough.
qualcosa, dai.
Let's
Sì,
get to the
infatti,
next
dai,
thing.
non facci
When
perdere il
Nix
tempo.
arrives next month, it'll have Levski, the Glacium Belt, and the new Welcome to Nix operation we just discussed. But throughout 2026, we'll also continue to build the Star System out with new features and new technologies that will not only set Nix apart and give it a unique identity from its sibling star systems, but
ma
continue
quindi
to set Star Citizen
ci
apart
sta,
from
cioè
other
non è
video games
finito Nix
altogether.
quando
Now,
uscirà.
at this point,
Cioè hanno detto che l'anno prossimo con le diverse patch che faranno poi implementeranno cose nuove, ma si sapeva già, ci sta. Cioè alla fine è quello che stanno facendo anche con Stanton e con Pyro, quindi dai, va bene.
Breaking new ground.
At Cloud Imperium Games, we believe art inspires the best technology. And through the development of that technology, it pushes us to create even better art. When Genesis comes to the persistent universe starting next year, it will change how you experience every world. And not just in the building of the new planets for the Nyx system. We will also go back through Stanton and Pyro and reimagine them through the lens of our technology. Previously, and more traditionally, we'd create
c'è il Genesis e il loro sistema di creazione di pianeti, e siccome penso che lo finiranno di sviluppare a breve, spero, faranno poi, cioè rifaranno i pianeti sia di Stanton che di Pyro. Ci sta.
But ultimately, things just never felt right. Our worlds were gorgeous, but to us, they still sometimes felt like interpretations. Now, this was a super hard problem, which we needed to solve at the scale the star system requires. We challenged ourselves to emulate nature in the most believable way, and not just on a planetary scale, but to our level of detail.
Vabbè, miglioramenti grafici che uno si aspetta nel corso degli anni, naturalmente, come ci sono stati.
Esatto. Cioè sicuramente poi immagino miglioreranno un po' anche il terreno comunque dei primi pianeti che sono usciti. Cioè tipo uno scenario del genere noi ancora non ce l'abbiamo.
No.
Che alla fine è uno scenario naturalissimo. È proprio Dio, bello.
Vabbè, con la cinematica siamo bravi tutti.
Sì, con la cinematica siamo bravi tutti, quello è vero. Però vabbè, l'idea dovrebbe essere questa.
It's now because it simply wants to be there. It fits inside our rules. Genesis also ties into our other gameplay systems. Our new planets are built from the information we create for our different datasets, like height maps, humidity, temperature, soil type, soil amounts, geology erosion data, to name but a few. This means you can now tell where to find valuable minerals as the geology looks like it would be suitable for it. Where scree piles exist below sheer cliff faces, and where rocks have broken off over time due to erosion. Of course, these new tools still give us the ability to direct the look and feel we want. The attention to detail from the tallest mountain to the smallest flower is still our core DNA.
Bello però.
Figo sì.
With Genesis, we can now keep that detail-orientated mindset as we focus on the quality.
Le paludi di cui tanto parlavano.
Provides the quantity. Genesis provides our planets with the ultimate sense of exploration and adventure, discovery in the purest emotional form. We want you to find that perfect place, with the planets providing an abundant resource to harvest. This is a major part of what exploration is for us. We want that feeling of finding a fall in love with.
Beh, ma in teoria quando mettono il sistema Terra ci sarà appunto il pianeta Terra.
Mettiamo lo spawn
Now I'm going to hand you over to Will to go deeper into what we have built that allows Genesis to realize our vision. As a reminder, some of the visuals you'll see will evolve and change as we continue our technological development and hone in on the final look for Nyx.
Thanks, Ian. So, in case it's not already clear, Genesis is our name for a group of technologies that are improving our ability to build worlds, refining those that we've already created, and ultimately expanding our persistent universe to the scale and quality that we all expect. I work on planet tech, so let's talk about how that's continued to evolve since our presentation last year. And instead of just highlighting some really cool biomes that we can create, let's go ahead and show how all this work applies
Mi hanno
to the
sparato in
upcoming
petto
planets of
questo.
Nyx.
Sì, infatti.
So there are 3 planets in Nyx. Nyx 3 is a gas giant, and I think it's blue. It's not going to surface. I don't really know. Nyx 2 is a yellow, toxic. It's got like this high pressure atmosphere, and it's like a very volatile planet with high risk reward gameplay. It's going to have some really interesting biomes for you to discover, but for now, just know it's going to be dangerous, because today we're going to focus on what we consider to be the hero planet of this system.
Dai, basta menarvela e tirate fuori le novità, dai.
Nyx 1 has got a rugged, remote beauty. It's got a diverse
si stanno
set of
parlando un
biomes,
po'
from
di come sono
rocky
messi
mountain
con il loro
ranges to vast
Genesis
sweeping
rispetto
forests
all'anno
and grasslands.
scorso.
And from damp, expansive wetlands to
Bello,
claustrophobic,
figa.
festering swamps.
Questo è un pianeta su Nyx, eh?
These core biome concepts give us a fantastic platform
Credo.
to hone our technology.
Stiamo parlando
In
dei
some
pianeti di
cases,
Nyx.
because the current tech couldn't do them at all, or because we want to completely step up our game for them. So, let's approach this planet in much the same way that you, the player, will, from orbit. The orbit appearance of the planets going forward is far more tied to what is present on the surface. Previously, we had different data that drove the orbital and ground coloring. That's because the orbit was designed to look like vegetation that we'd place on the surface, and the ground coloring was trying to be a mix of soil, rock, and the organic compound coloring that forms the kind of colors there. Now we author much more of the data in a unified way. When you look at Earth, you see blues and greens for ocean and vegetation, and
molto
browns,
tecnica questa
yellowy tones for sand and
presentazione.
soil. We wanted to keep it as simple as that. The same set of textures and data that define the color of the soil, sand, and rock on the ground are used to create the orbital look. We then assess the presence of vegetation and competition between different species on each part of the planet and use that to blend in tones of green, including variations due to species health and the current season. This creates a far more complete image and allows you to identify features, geologies, and potential points of interest all the way from space. Let's go down to the surface and start with something closer to what you're used to, but in a whole new light.
Figo.
Sì.
When we approached the surface of the planet, we wanted to start by focusing on just the soil and rock. One of the things that was missing from our terrain previously was simply feature complexity. Looking at our contemporaries, we lacked detail at the ground scale. To combat this, we've added a new layer of data. That layer is called the medium tiles. These are intelligently placed on top of the existing 4-kilometer terrain tiles based on slope, soil type, and other erosion data. And these medium tiles don't just create height changes, they also bring in local erosion data both for soil and bedrock size values. And this gives us a whole new level of terrain detail, of scale, and allows us to create far more unique locations across the planet. So now that we've nailed the surface, let's have a look at adding some rocks. We've now got 2 major contributors
Vabbè,
to
ma
the
ci
rock
fa tutta la
content
spiega
of our
tecnica
planets.
del loro
Firstly,
sistema Genesis,
long-desired
spero di
feature,
no.
cliffs.
Devono allungare
We
un po',
are
secondo
adding
me non
large
ha
scale,
molto da dirci
very
questo
detailed to
sito.
all our cliffs based on the geology at a given location.
Cioè, bello,
This
per
adds an
carità.
exciting
Cioè,
new dimension to
bellissimo, non è
steep
nulla da
slopes that we simply
dire.
couldn't get before. The second is
Cioè,
a big
sicuramente
one
sarà
for
bello
ground
volare,
vehicle
volare lì,
enthusiasts.
però...
Rocks are now found
Secondo me
not
dovevano
scattered
fare un
everywhere, like
CITIZENCON
spilled popcorn at the
e
cinema,
l'hanno fatto, ma
but only in places you'd
per
expect to
queste
find
cose
them,
qui, almeno fino ad
thanks
adesso,
to
bastava
a
una patch
brand
note.
new rock scattering algorithm that isn't
Mi
annoying.
sentite?
Bella, Coca?
Using
Dai,
physical
allora
data
come sta
generated
andando?
for each large
Ma sì,
tile.
bene, dai.
Now rock distribution
sembrano
makes
fighe
sense and has a
le premesse.
physical
Sì, sì.
basis.
Oh, mese prossimo andiamo su Nyx,
So if you're
Coca?
still crashing into them,
No, dai.
Confermato. Confermato.
Oh, cazzo dici? Vengo a casa adesso.
Confermato, sì. Sì.
No, Dio, dico appartamento in montagna, Dio. Mi posso portare il computer su in montagna, porco Dio.
Anche per le ferie io.
Dio, calma veramente?
Sì, non si sa, allora, la data non si sa quando, ma l'hanno detto. Il mese prossimo.
Prima di fine anno c'è
esatto. Sì, esatto.
Figata di vostro gioco sta prendendo piede di brutto, vaffanculo di vostro. Poi del resto è già finito o stanno ancora parlando?
Siamo in live in questo momento, stiamo guardando la live in live su YouTube.
Ma com'è? È bella da vedere? Cioè, ci sono loro che fanno i fighi o è un po' così?
Allora, no, in realtà è bello. Cioè, le cose che sta facendo vedere sono belle in realtà. Hanno fatto vedere un po' come sarà Nix, le missioni che faremo. Adesso stanno facendo vedere il loro sistema. No, cioè il loro sistema di generazione di pianeti che si chiama Genesis, però è molto tecnica come cosa. Quindi sì, bello, però non è quello che cerchiamo noi.
In questo momento stanno facendo uno spiegone un po' per allungare il brodo, diciamo, però si stanno tenendo il meglio per la fine, secondo me.
Sì.
Bastardi.
Sì.
Dai ragazzi, allora non vi disturbo più, va là, ritorno alla festa. Comunque speriamo bene. Ero lì con l'acquolina in bocca e dico, no, devo chiamare. Dai, comunque dai, tanta roba, dai.
Dai.
È bello, dai, posso. L'importante era quello, che era molto positivo, dai.
Sì, per ora sì.
Bello, allora vi saluto ragazzi.
Bella Coca, ci sentiamo.
Ciao, scusate il disturbo, ciao, bello.
Ma de che? Che grande Coca.
No, non è così grave come sembra, Anthony. In realtà quelle volano di brutto su YouTube, non è un problema. Quelle volano.
Next, let's take a look at how we light our grass. Now, as in real life, the shading of a grass blade, or indeed a whole field of grass, is lit very differently to like a flat surface. We now use a solution that shades meadows of grass far more like fur or hair. And this, if you think about it, makes sense.
Pix ha scritto, bello sto argomento, asciuga figa.
This improves how our grass looks from a perspective, as well as bringing us nicely solving the distant representation of
Effettivamente
grass.
si stanno un po' asciugando,
So, let's talk about the distance problem.
No, bello, per carità, però i sassi ce li ho anche a casa mia.
With Genesis is allowing us to build beautiful biomes out of flora and geology assets like a building set. Can I say Lego?
No. Stanno tenendo il meglio per la fine. Hanno dato qualcosa all'inizio, adesso l'allungano e poi dopo alla fine lanciano un'altra abbastanza sicuro. Dopo magari
ma anche perché abbiamo detto che in teoria dovrebbe durare circa 2 orette.
Una è
più o meno. Una è già andata via, sì.
There are almost infinite perspectives from which you can see a location in Star Citizen. So, how can we afford to evaluate complex spawning logic at runtime for the entire swathes of the planet? Enter the virtual terrain. Virtual terrain, or VT for short, is how we now cache and represent our terrain at varying scales. This has been the enabler of all of the lovely advances in terrain complexity.
Tecnica sta roba, non sto capendo.
And it's also
non ce ne frega
how
un
we
cazzo,
now evaluate and represent vegetation from a distance.
Il menu,
When creating the VT,
L'inventario, vi prego, dai. Un accenno di ingegneria.
If so, what shading should be applied?
Uccidete Wikelo, fate qualcosa.
We're now able to use the
Uccidete
same shading
Wikelo.
model for the distant representation
Deportatelo.
as the close-up asset, whether that's our lovely rolling hills, some more dramatic rockscapes, those muggy wetlands, or even our festering swamps. So, yeah, we didn't forget about the swamps, and they're coming to next
ma
one
quelle
as
se le
well.
possono tenere anche per
Built
loro il
using the
player,
lessons learned and all the
sì.
these
Cioè,
swamps now spring
ci
into
sarà
existence
qualcuno che
from
magari ha
planetary
fissato queste
data.
cose qua, ma la maggior parte non sa
This
neanche di
biome
cosa sta
combines
parlando.
all of the elements from the other biomes we've shown you today, from water interaction, denser spawning, unique ground coverage, And I think it creates something really unique.
Vabbè, dovevano riempire in qualche modo queste 2 ore.
Ma infatti secondo me quello che ci dicono stasera lo potevano inserire tranquillamente in una patch note.
Sì, alcune cose. Sì, ma sono tipo, sai che... sì.
On the Planet Tech portion of
Ok,
Genesis,
ha finito.
and how we're using it right now to sculpt the identity of Nix One. And I hope you're as excited as we are to explore this and everything we haven't shared yet.
Beh, quindi su Nix in teoria c'erano dei panorami molto belli. Dai, almeno quello.
As you can see, Genesis is now inspiring everyone here to create planets of the quality and believability we've always strived for. And meeting of
Nuvole
technology or not,
spettacolari
that I
come
truly
sempre,
believe
ma quello ormai
will
lo
set
sapevamo
our
già.
worlds apart from anything we've done before. And with that said, let's move on to a little travel between systems, literally. Up until now, our mission system has been specific to the star system you're in, meaning a Stanton mission has to take place in the Stanton system, and a Pyro mission has to take place there. We've never been able to link these together, but with the introduction of our third star system, it's time for this to change. And that begins with the introduction of interstellar cargo.
What are you talking about today?
System-to-system hauling missions.
No, vabbè.
Che palle! You guys even play the game?
Ancora, ma cos'è? Ma
exactly
veramente-
qua Pix c'ha il cazzo duro.
Ho capito,
taking various volumes of cargo
già
between the
Death
stations.
Stranding per queste
So there'll be
cose.
high volumes of cargo that kind of fulfill the purpose for
No.
the whole sea and the other
Questa
stations
nave
of
qua.
ships. And there'll be a few
potassio,
sort of
quante
more
banane
direct
ci stanno lì
routes.
dentro?
So you might pick up some cargo from Ruin Station in Pyro and go through the jump point to Stanton and drop it off there at one of the Helios.
So if you've
Vabbè,
never sort of
già lo facevo
experienced the
rubando
jump
la
point,
droga su
I'll
Pyro.
go
Ah no,
first. These missions
era la
will
ULC.
require you to.
Si vede che non faccio hauling, era la ULC.
Stanno puntando tutto su sto cazzo
They're
di
no
oli.
way limited. You can do them in any sort of ship you want, any size of ship. I'll be doing them in my Drake cutter
bene,
myself.
i trasporti,
Between
va bene
Stanton and
fare
Nix.
Amazon del
Just the Drake
caso,
cutter.
però
I've got a few ships, but the Drake cutter is really cute, so.
Cioè, è
One
giusto
thing
che
that
ci
we're
sia.
looking to add with these interstellar missions is scripted comment encounters where you can be attacked by NPC
Dovrà
ships.
esserci perché
Maybe
poi
the
in un
mission
futuro,
giver has tipped
quando,
off some
da quel che ho capito,
pirates
quando ci
who
saranno
are
le
looking to
basi
get a hold of that
delle
cargo,
org così,
as well as
mi sa che
express
servirà
missions,
qualcuno
which
che
means
trasporti
the
materiali,
deadline
quindi
timers
sì,
that
ci
you're
sta.
used to in the regular hauling
Però vabbè,
missions
non è
might
il
get really
mio,
tight and
ecco,
you've gotta
tutto
learn
qui.
to be very fast. All of the love and care that has gone into hauling missions so far, with the logistical network and making sure they make sense within the themes of the systems, just as much love has gone into the interstellar.
Allora, diciamo, la differenza da prima è che prima non c'era una missione che ti portava da Pyro a Stanton per
Sì,
una
esatto.
hauling, ok? Però già prima lo facevamo, per esempio, andando a rubare il carico di droga su Pyro con gli Headhunters, e poi ce l'andavamo a portare, la andavamo a vendere a Stanton,
Sì.
dove si guadagna di più. Cioè, non avete
Ma
introdotto
che poi
un cazzo, cioè.
no, esatto, cioè semplicemente ha
Dov'è la
messo
novità?
delle quest, cioè sono delle quest tra virgolette che trovi nei contratti. Cioè adesso il contratto ti dice
sì.
portalo da Stanton
Esatto.
a Nix, tutto qui, però è vero quello che dici, c'era già una forma di trasporto
Sì, poi mi fanno
come si
fare
dice?
anche altre missioni intergalattiche, come si dice in questo caso qua, allora vabbè, ok, mi state dicendo che c'è questa novità, ma per adesso, vabbè.
Missions we're making now.
To the Clicca Belt, you'll find these old QV breaker stations.
Ah, mi sa che si è sincronizzato con la diretta. Vabbè, tranqui.
Tanto stavano dicendo
These were originally industrial facilities breaking apart large asteroids and mining them down. But since they've been mothballed and been left abandoned. So you're going to have to find your way inside and thinking about how do we bring this facility back to life. It's not just about flipping a switch. As you bring these stations back to life, you'll be lighting the beacon and calling attention to these long
Cos'è un
forgotten
nuovo game loop,
places.
mi sa.
Beh,
È il nuovo game loop di Nix.
One of the main features is the laser head, which will require certain things to get working. It's up to you and your friends to find how to get in.
There'll be a variety of options.
Capire come entrare.
Whether you're discovering the bowels of the station and mining your way through long-forgotten tunnels,
C'è da minare all'interno di
or you're
queste
going through the
stazioni.
main laser entrance. Now, as you're traversing through the facility, you'll find the old engine room. Now, there may be ways to bring the facility back to life, kickstart the engines, and bring power to different parts of the facility. Maybe eventually bringing the laser back online and cracking some
Un altro laser?
The secondary gameplay loop is FPS combat. You're not there by yourself.
There may be squatters and outlaws in these stations trying to stop you from what you want to do.
So you've found these old facilities, you've brought them back to life. You've systematically brought power to various functions of the facility. You've activated the laser. You've fired the laser. You've broken apart the rock. And then you'll be able to fly your ship inside and see what's there.
Ah, con la nave ci entri dentro.
So you fly a ship into an asteroid?
Yeah. You just get into your ship and fly in and start searching around and trying to find the pieces that you want to mine.
Ah, c'è da minare, si vede roba
c'è da minare.
buona con la nave, però sto giro come
Esatto.
più LP, diciamo.
Cioè, è un
I'm really
Hathor
excited
nello
about
spazio un po'
because
più
it's a
grande.
sandbox activity. You can kind of go to these whenever you want to.
This content is for players who enjoy mining, who enjoy exploration, investigation, and don't mind a little bit of FPS content while they're there.
Ok, cosa mi fai trovare dentro però?
It will be very
Sì,
new
sicuramente
experience
qualcosa
compared to any other asteroid.
di valore,
This
spero.
Kind of like Alan and Mine will crack open and show its secret.
And one presumes you can make a decent amount of scratch in an asteroid that's big enough you fly your spaceship into it.
It wouldn't be worth doing if you couldn't make a good amount of coin. Yeah.
Making promises for the econ team.
Yeah. They've got to balance it.
It's for people who want a lot of minerals. When crafting comes in, when all the other mechanics and features that we want in the game for 1.0 come in, it will be a place where like an organization or a group of like 5-6 people could come and just get a monumental amount of minerals.
Ok.
veramente
Sì, sarà
un botto
importante
di minare.
anche. Sì, sì, ma poi sarà
So,
importante
that's
anche
a
quando
look at
uscirà il
some of what's
crafting.
coming
Magari
over
per
the next
craftarti
12
una roba
months.
figa devi per
In
forza
addition to what
utilizzare
we
un
showed,
minerale che
there'll be
trovi
new
soltanto
mission
lì.
packs tailored to the People's Alliance and their struggles. There'll be events that invest you into the evolving storyline of all three systems we'll have in the game. And of course, when we begin populating these with new planets, there'll be a whole host of ground-based POIs, settlements and structures inhabited by those trying to make their way in the verse. And all of this in service of building star systems that complement the massive corporate yard of Stanton, the lawless ganking of Pyro, and now the new frontier of discovery for the Nyx system. Should I say ganking?
You already did.
Good job, everyone. So yeah, a whole lot to take in there. Interstellar hauling is the beginning of a massive expansion to the mission system that'll let us connect these 3-star systems like never before. What else we got? Rockcracker. Rockcracker is just one of the next operations that'll be coming to the Nyx system in the first half of next year, where you're gonna fly into an asteroid and do that thing that miners love more than anything else. Complain about PvPers getting in their way.
Pubblicità occulta, la Bex.
No, I'm being told it's mining. It's mining. And of course, one of the most anticipated features coming to Star Citizen, Genesis, and what that means for the planets of Star Citizen, including the ones already in there. So let's talk to Will Hain and find out more. And I'm just remembering that Will Hain is in France at the watch party. Okay, France. ask Slarty Bartfast over there how they're going to use Genesis to update the planets and moons of Stanton and get back to me, all right? And see if we can get some
Genesis, vi prego.
What else we got? The CitizenCon Digital Goodies Pack. That's a hard thing to say. That went up for sale a couple weeks ago and has a whole bunch of mysterious items in it. And that's where I can tell you now that almost all of them are tied to the Nix system in one way or another. So let's find out what's actually in there. There's
Ma il tipo lì dietro che sfotte.
2 armor sets from that mysterious faction causing a ruckus with a Van Duel, and an Intersect BU sweater.
L'arma nuova?
A couple of crazy weapons that I'm certain we're going to learn about in just a few
sono
minutes.
entrambi armi nuove.
Levski swag, and finally, to celebrate the long
Quella lì a destra l'avevo già fatta vedere, ma tipo per 5 secondi in un altro video, e sembra tipo una specie di AK spaziale.
So yeah, it's a pretty solid haul for this year's Digital Goodies Pack, which you can still pick up right now on the RSI store. So now, let's go ahead and transition into our next segment. Much of what you see in the show today has been the culmination of a lot of people's work in... What's up? All right, I had a dream about like this once. Yeah. Okay, so against everyone's better judgment, the thing has finally happened. Can I help you?
How do you think the show's going?
Good. We're getting the Nix star system and the Van Duel are coming.
Kind of been a lot of Nix, right?
Well, yeah, but it's a major milestone and it deserves a major showcase celebrating everybody's hard work. And
you got more, right?
Well, yeah, there's spaceships coming out.
Cool.
Oh.
Wow, it's like they only scan the original community portion of me. If pictures steal your soul, imagine what face scanning and PCAP does.
Well,
Cos'è che ha detto?
this has been super cringe.
No, il tipo gli fa... Non è che parlerete solo di Nix, vero? E l'altro gli fa... No, ci sono anche delle navi che dovremmo presentare.
Still better. You should have done that.
Of course. Thank you. Part of me that isn't a soulless marketing puppet. All right. No.
Ma che cazzate.
E tira dentro Apix, che è su Stanton.
Sì.
Let's just go to some spaceships, shall we?
Vai, navi.
Hi, my name's John Crew. I'm the vehicle
grande.
and
Ciao,
welcome to Talking
Apix.
Ship. We're going to talk about 3 new ships coming to the persistent universe.
Parlano delle navi adesso?
3 new ships
3
coming
nuove
to the
navi.
Persistence Universe. Vediamo. Sulen 2.0.
No.
The last year has been pretty hectic in terms of vehicle deliveries. I think we've delivered the most we've ever done in a 12-month period, and we've covered all the way from tiny little snubs all the way up to capital ships.
We've kind of filled out a few little gaps. We've introduced some new ships by some old manufacturers.
We had the Polaris come out, and obviously people have enjoyed playing with that. We snuck the Idris in without none of you expecting it for a while, and it's been a busy year. It's nice to start revisit some of the older catalogue and some of the bigger ships again.
I think my favourite ship from the last year is a tie between the Wolf and the Golem.
Favourite ship in the last year? Probably the Wolf.
I feel like it's the obvious one. I'm trying to think of something else, but I really like the Wolf.
Everyone's mentioned the Wolf. The Wolf's everyone's favourite.
The Wolf, obviously, a return of Kruger, a completely new aesthetic to the game.
The Wolf was, you know, it was kind of everything we set it out to be, and it revived an old manufacturer. We've not seen anything from a while, so yeah, I'm going to say the Wolf.
The Golem, I think, is just incredibly well-formed
la loro nave
ship. It's a
preferita.
small package. It
E
really
stanno facendo un po' un
shows
giro
off
per
that Drake
capire
aesthetic,
le
giving
navi
you the
preferite
absolute
dei
bare minimum
developer.
needed to perform a role.
I honestly do really like the Zeus. I think it came out really well. It's kind of hard to pin down a favourite, to be honest, because we've released, you know, a lot of really cool ships.
Next year, we've got some super exciting ships coming up. We're ticking off a few big ones, which is good. We're going to see, again, maybe some ships from some manufacturers that don't have that many in their lineup. There's a few big challenging ones starting, so they're good. A breadth of ships, should we say.
The 3 new ships we're going to introduce today all tie in some way to the primary factions fighting over the Nix system. We'll start with the People's Alliance and Anvil Aerospace.
Paladin.
Anvil is a very military-based brand. Yeah. It's been a brand that's in Star Citizen for a long time, fighting for lots of military contracts and lore, often up against Aegis, and to the point it actually beat Aegis in the past. You will be familiar with a lot of their ships' designs, such as the Hornet and Lightning. Earlier this year, we introduced the Anvil Asgard, based on the Valkyrie chassis, which is an extremely popular offering. And this year, we're bringing the concept ship we introduced last year, the Anvil Paladin, to life. The Paladin is a gunship from Anvil Aerospace, designed to support ground operations.
A gunship is a ship that's designed to stay in a sustained firefight while dealing a lot of damage, also taking damage.
We don't have a lot of gunships in the game, the true dedicated gunships. They are quite a tricky archetype to control in game without being too powerful. It's designed with a lot of firepower and high armor and health, but very low maneuverability.
It's multi-crew, it's just built purely for battle. It's got lots of armor, lots of guns, big guns.
It's got a very similar squat kind of form to the Valkyrie. It kind of reminds me of, I guess, like a pit bull. Obviously a very menacing silhouette.
It looks quite forward-weighted in its stance. It feels like it's coming towards you, even when it's just sat still. And I think that's something that helps with it feeling intimidating.
Bell'aumento anche, sì.
If we swing round, following the ship round clockwise, what you'll then see is the first of the side turrets. If you notice the canopy, you'll see that there's a fairly thick space between where the glass is and the hull exterior. That's because it has deployable armor, which can come out and give you a little bit more cover while you're actually attacking the target head on.
It's got these really nice kind of dual connected wings with the turrets out on the sides, just to try and give as much kind of range for those turrets as we can get.
Degli scudi?
È l'armatura. Quando poi metteranno il sistema di armatura in game, magari servirà qualcosa, spero. La torretta, questa qua è figo.
Full 360 coverage underneath, full 360 coverage.
Non ci salirò mai, però è figo da vedere.
And then the side turrets also have 360 coverage that way around and 180 out sideways. So really you have, between the turrets, pretty much 360 coverage in all directions. One of the unique things about the Paladin is all the turrets are remote and all the crew are located in this one central two-story room.
A lot of our other gunships, the crew gets scattered across the ship, but with the Paladin, we're all sat together with a nice cool experience, so you can really feel like you're playing as a group.
You've got the pilot, co-pilot up top, and you've got the gunners underneath, and I think that helps with the intention of what the ship does, because you've got this really nice kind of like gunner viewpoint down, kind of giving this lower coverage.
We added a glass floor just to keep the two connected. I think that really helps with the feeling that you're all working together and communicating.
That said, if you don't have the ability to fully crew a Paladin, you can still fly it and engage in combat solo.
Obviously not as good as if you have a full crew, but you can't always guarantee your friends are going to be online.
As a solo ship, it's pretty capable of doing a variety of missions within Star Citizen. So if you want to run this ship solo, you can take on combat missions that, say, other heavy fighters like the Scorpius or other ships such as the Drake Cutlass could do. Coming aboard the Paladin, you enter into this sort of armory, ready room area. You have a variety of suit lockers and weapon racks in this room.
Everything's very militaristic, stripped back, simple. It's a very functional space, but you'll find everything you need in there.
One of the improvements from the original concept is we've added a small dedicated cargo bay area, allowing you to store actual SCU crates. Forward of that is the route to the lower gunners.
Loro ce l'hanno la Medi.
Upstairs you have the bridge area. And then off that central area you have the dual living quarters, one on the left, one on the right. And then at the rear you have the main sort of engineering area where the majority of the components are. Also within the upper traversal area you also have a little breakout area with seating, food machine, toilets, etc.
I think it's very cool I think we did a really nice job of taking what was there in the concept and adding an extra level of detail and trying to kind of push things forward.
I think it hits the nail in terms of a really solid military ship. It's really complementary to some of the other ships in the Anvil lineup, so something like the Valkyrie where you can drop ship, the Paladin's there just to make sure it's safe, make sure no one messes with you, and just
Ce la mettete la Asgard in game che c'ho degli alpha che da spendere.
It's very clearly got a crew of 4 and they all kind of work and operate under the same conditions. You know, the pilot, co-pilot and the 2 gunners, they're basically all equal on the ship. There's one toilet, everyone's got the same style of bunk. When they're at work, everyone's at the front of the ship together.
It's really odd to me that you call that, you like that there's one toilet for 4 people.
Well, you know, it's you all work together. You're all equal at work. You're
Toilet seat never gets cold.
Toilet seat never gets cold. Yeah.
So that's the Anvil Paladin. Whilst originally a military-built craft, it's the perfect ship for folks on the frontier trying to defend against threats. And talking of threats, let's move to our next ship, a replica from Isperia. Spero are a high-end manufacturer. They specialize in recreating exotic and particularly alien spacecraft.
Effectively what they're doing is they're remanufacturing them, making them a little bit more suitable for kind of human flight. And the latest offering from Spero is the Vandal Stinger.
The Vandal are big, scary space aliens. They're like 7-foot-tall,
Eccomi.
evil war race that sort of
sto facendo vedere quella della Vandal.
Fuse it all together into their own needs.
They are the relatively nasty aliens that you sometimes hear about and haven't seen much of yet. They also make really cool spaceships.
The Stinger as a Vandal heavy fighter was reserved for their higher tier sort of ace pilots or high-ranking members within their clans.
The Stinger is a competitor to something like the FA or, I guess, the Scorpius.
It packs a lot of firepower in quite a large frame, so it's a very, very tanky spacecraft. The firepower is almost unrivaled in terms of just both the number and the size of them. So it's there for players who don't want agility. They don't want to be in and out quickly. They want
Il
to be
cockpit
there
nuovo delle Vandal!
with big guns and taking all the
delle
hits.
Vandal. Vabbè, di quelle navi lì.
One thing Isperia have done differently with the Stinger is they have done away with the majority of the bespoke weapons.
They heard everyone's complaints about the glaive and blade and have stripped off the original Vandal weapons to allow customization for standard human weapons.
With the exception of the single-size 5-gun.
Because it was too well integrated into the hull, even for Isperia to remove.
All the additional weapons are generic mounts, so they can be swapped with any of the existing lineup that we have in the game. By doing this, it provides greater flexibility to the end user, and this is something Spero wanted for the civilian market. For that one bespoke weapon, the size 5 plasma cannon, functionally it is the same as the existing size 5 plasma cannons on the Scythe and Glaive, but it is a sort of Gen 2 model and wraps it in a different aesthetic compared to those models. You'll see they're very much older Vandal styling. This is much newer Vandal styling, but underneath it is the same weapon that people have used for years.
Cannonate che pianta.
Our job as the vehicle art team on the PU was to take
Però adesso si possono cambiare, tipo sulla Blade, la Blade di base monta delle armi di questa nave qua.
Take, you know, this really well-established art style and
mi sembra di aver capito che si possono cambiare adesso.
So the exterior is a real blend of these kind of hard surface, kind of rare alloyed kind of wings, and then underneath this real kind of organic structure that kind of webs all of the ship together. You know, it connects the thrusters in, it connects all the kind of underside of the vehicle and pulls the whole ship together.
You can tell it's very different from the Vandal ships that are currently in the PU. If you take, for example, the way the cockpits are constructed.
Up at the front, we've got this big kind of bubble dome that gives the cockpit quite a unique shape compared to some of our other ships, and also gives the pilot a unique position within the ship and kind of gives great visibility out the front.
Boarding the Stinger is a little unusual compared to other ships, obviously being alien in nature.
You're going through a ramp at the rear, and it leads you kind of straight up into the belly of the ship.
There's, you know, lots of organic detail, rib cages, kind of strange alien forms.
On entry of the cockpit, the seat kind of comes down towards you, and you kind of climb over the back of it a bit, like a motorbike.
You're basically riding into the cockpit. It feels very much like you're being like carried
come nella Blade, la guidi da
the
sdraiato.
Traditional prone flying pose that Vandal pilots use.
I'm very happy with the Stinger. I think the team done a really good job of making something that feels different, it feels alien, but it suits our lineup of ships and it suits our universe.
I think the guys did a really good job of respecting the, you know, the direction and vision from the original Stinger and Vandal ships and Squadron.
We've tried to take a lot of inspiration from movies and other science fiction material, but I think it sits well within the Star Citizen universe.
So we have the Paladin for the People's Alliance. We have the Stinger for people that really like Vandal and want to try and pretend to be them. But what about the other mysterious faction we have running around?
So Gray Chowdhury got his start as he was working at a cargo center out in Odin. He started being able to get his hands on some stuff that other people couldn't, items that necessarily you couldn't find on a store shelf, but you wanted anyway.
I think Gray is interested in, happy customers. Gray just sees themselves as a conduit to get these things in the hands of people who would appreciate them.
And I think that his latest offering is really going to turn some heads.
Okay.
So the Shiv, well, I don't really know what it is, to be fair.
It's what happens when someone who is a genius at aeronautics and
ma è una Drake senza le robe davanti, c'è una Cat Black senza le ali davanti.
The best of whatever they can find lying around, put together to make something truly unique, wonderful, arguably beautiful, and just released out into the universe to see what happens.
At first glance at the exterior of the Shiv,
Avevamo parlato, se non sbaglio, da qualche parte di uno che crea le navi utilizzando parti di altre navi.
As you look a little bit closer, you'll start to pick out elements from other ships. You've got, main thrusters.
Questi sono della Asgard, questi motori
Even the bits
qua.
that are obviously a Cutlass have had panels welded on, panels removed. The top turret, which is now remote, is just this hodgepodge amalgamation with multiple other ships' turrets. And then the changes continue onto the inside where, again, it sort of feels Cutlass-like, but then you'll find there's bits of Crusader ships just integrated into the war.
Sì, è un misturotto di tanti brand.
Its side entrance, some of its cargo capacity, but what it's gained is it's gained visually more powerful thrusters. It's gained a really kind of nice set of belly thrusters. It's upped its firepower.
As ever with the refined work from Gray's Market, you can see that great care was taken to the health and safety to ensure that there's no trip hazards anywhere.
There's like loose cables, panels are exposed. If you look carefully, you'll notice there are like tools laying around in the cockpit.
He's getting a toilet.
Magari è forte però,
O c'è la carta igienica.
La carta igienica.
Yeah, it's one for doing stuff and then you need a second one to wash your hands. It's not an animal.
It has very much taken that ethos of Drake and moved it down a level, which I think is quite an achievement.
Just look at this thing. How do you even begin to describe the madness that created this?
È una Cutlass a tutti gli effetti. Oh no. Ah no, c'è anche altri
This is something new and different for Star Citizen.
C'ha 6 armi.
Where did it come from?
È una Cutlass potenziata, dai.
Just nothing, just
no comment.
Gray goes to places and talks to people. I mean, there are just many ways to find these things that, I mean, are they legitimate, manufacturers? No.
Well.
Are they operating on the right side of the law? Maybe not, but, money's money.
Does Gray have a motto, an ethos to live by?
It probably comes down to, don't ask where I got it,
don't ask how we got it.
Don't worry about it. Just ask if you want it.
I think the Shiv is for someone that is looking for something a bit different, a bit away from the norm, that just wants something that's unique.
It's definitely for people who like a rustic aesthetic.
It's a fun ship.
È fin qua.
But it's also really strong, to be honest. And it's absolutely a statement.
Te la danno già con effetto usato.
Sì, te la danno già usata.
I'm happy with the 3 ship offerings. They're obviously very combat heavy.
Usata bene.
Normally release all at once, but honestly, all of them are a different statement and they're all cool.
As always, super excited to release these ships into the game and just see how players react and play with them. It's always fun to see the quirks and the shenanigans that people get up to with them. So that's Talking Ship for another year. So.
Yeah, you can do the thing with Lexi. Talking
Kraken.
So I've just been informed that we have to do a bit of a timeshare agreement this year. So we have to throw it over to Alexi for Talking Weapons, which is an extremely original name.
Vediamo.
I'm talking about the new edition that come out in October.
Bello questo.
The non-weapons are essentially the weapons that does not have a manufacturer, the weapons that you can think of that were made by space pirates.
Questo si droga con tutti i soldi nostri.
Sometimes he gets his hands on some weapons that come from unknown origins.
He will sell things that
no company in their right mind would ever make.
These are the most kind of like scrappy and take together and the
C'ha
most
ancora gli
kind of
occhi
like
chiusi.
pyro-ish weapons that you can think of.
Right now we're releasing 3 new weapons.
The Widow.
Rocket launcher, the
Nuovo
Elm
lanciarazzi?
and the long-awaited
Dai, la K.
Space.
Oh,
bella.
Oh, bella sì.
I think this is the one that not only is
Cosa lancia?
the man, but
Freccette?
I've been
Cosa
politely
lancia?
badgered about the most. It's a fun rifle that basically fires energy and ballistic.
No, ma non mirare,
in
tranquillo.
sequence.
Ma
So your first
spara
shot
sia
will be your
balistico che
ballistic,
energia?
your second shot
No,
will be
bello.
You'll see on the top of the art there is a bolt that cycles the rounds, and that goes off with the ballistic shot, but it does not go off with the energy shot. And that is just like a really fun way of making a weapon.
Ma che
work
cosa
in sort of
random?
Like a scrappy,
Sì, bello
glued
però.
together kind of.
No, ci sta, figo,
Ma
figo.
spara insieme nello stesso momento.
The
Scegli-
LMG
Spara prima un
is a
colpo,
really
prima un
fun,
colpo di,
slow
di balistico e poi un
hard-hitting
colpo di energia.
It will bring the 50 cal, and the only other weapons that have this right now in the verse are the Bearing sniper rifle and the Coda.
Honestly, if you even get hit by one, you just instant tier 1 injury, back to medical.
Ah, questa è la LMG.
You know what? We made all these really complicated, fancy guns, and some people just want, I want a slow firing rifle. Give me a scrap together box that fires the biggest thing you can possibly find.
We don't have a rocket launcher of this caliber. It will be 3 grenades straight together that you pull into the tube and fire
Sono 3
towards
granate
the enemies.
quelli.
The cool part about it will have an arming distance, so you will not be able to just point it towards an enemy.
It's also going to have a lot of spread. So essentially, you're going to have to get very close with your launcher to be able to blow up
Figa.
ships with a single payload in it. You can't actually aim with the apparatus, because you've got the tube on your shoulder, and you try to aim it, you'd have to physically put the tube in your head. So we were like, oh, we can't have an aiming apparatus for this. And then we realized, like, it's in the spirit of being a tube that you can't use the aiming apparatus, and you just kind of like, all right, I think that's the middle of the screen, I'm going to hit it.
It's in the spirit of being a tube.
Ah, il cannocchiale. Il nuovo reward di Wii che lo... la prossima
Are really
patch.
cool. We don't have anything like this in the verse, and I think it will be really convenient to use something that's
300 scudi
dedicated
quantanium e
to
80
all the
di carinite
things,
pura,
especially
ora, una
far
roba
away,
del genere.
instead of using your sniper scope, for example.
Will the binoculars have glint?
Cazzo
I'm not
ridi?
aware of this one. Probably not, because binoculars are not
Tu lo fai, io devo far male
something
chi
that
ti
you need to
vivo.
be aware of.
It's really funny because obviously, due to Glintgate, as you know, I beautifully internally call it, basically there was a lot of community feedback basically saying like, oh, I really like spotting people. I really like playing a spotter. And essentially I was like, oh, this community wants to be able to spot people from distances. And what can we make gadget-wise that doesn't require new features? And it was like, binoculars. And I prototyped a thing which essentially was just a scope in a hand.
Per
and
spottare
it
i
worked.
nemici, tipo.
So we've got some really cool binoculars coming that allow you to spot people from distances.
And how much damage do the binoculars do?
Depends on how you throw them.
Boh, secondo me cannocchiali adesso per come il gioco.
Thanks, Alexei and Zach. That's the
Se
end
mi
of this
permette
segment
di
for this
mettere
year, so
un
that's talking
ping
ship and
su un
weapons,
nemico
unless
che lo vedi anche tu, è
anyone else is going to
utile.
come and tell me something
ok.
else. It's been an exciting year, and I think the next year of ships is going to be even more exciting and expansive than this year.
Boh, sto pensando magari nelle fasi FPS degli Hathor o anche del Vermone, del Lazarus, non so, tu vedi qualcosa di muoversi da lontano, tiri fuori il cannocchiale e vedi cos'è, un player o un NPC?
That is an eclectic bunch of combat ships for the verse. And they're all available right now up on the robertsspaceindustries.com
Però,
store.
vabbè,
Also,
adesso c'è.
any minute now, there's going to be a PTU drop that includes all 3. So you can fly them now ahead of their
qualcuna
release
c'è, qualcuna
next week when Alpha 432 goes live. 3 combat ships. I wonder if they'll have any additional uses coming up later in the show. That's a hint. All right, what else can I shill? Oh, there's merch. We've got these cool new Levski desk mat things. These are always popular. There's some Levski metal posters on the store, and of course, love them or hate them, but you can't avoid them. There's this cool new Wickelo's Emporium t-shirt.
No, grazie. Finita la maglietta.
There's also a page published earlier today with a bunch of links to offerings from our third party.
Intanto che parlano, il patch note caccia fuori tutto quello di cui stanno parlando,
Ah sì?
Party partners, from eye trackers to gaming chairs to voice packs to spaceship models from new partners like Planet Ring and Pigeon Spaceport and more. You can find all of that on the RSI website as well. And what else can I show? Oh, for those of you who are at watch parties, where is it? Challenge coins. Who doesn't love challenge coins? There's these lovely Levski themed challenge coins if you're attending one of the 9 official watch parties around the world. There's also a digital one of these in the goodies pack, so you check those out. Don't leave today without.
Ma che cazzo me ne frega? Fatemi vedere cose, non t-shirt.
I'm kind of tired of shilling. All right, let's find out some more about where we are. Simon, can we move? Can we do? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Okay, here we go. Pardon me. Excuse me. Hi. How you doing?
Pagliaccio.
That was my best angle. I had to be careful. Last year I took 3 steps and tore a muscle. All right, so this is the 9th floor of CIG Manchester's Manchester office. That's
sono nella loro sede. Bella, guarda il tavolo del biliardo là in fondo.
And if you get here early enough, croissants, if the weapons team hasn't stolen all of them. Over here, we got some cool mannequins representing different aspects of the game.
Questo è figo.
Security armor over here, that's really cool.
Che d'Artimex, che bella che è.
Piazzarsene uno in casa ci sta.
You got this guy from a game that we're not talking about today. Marine armor, it's all pretty cool. And then when you come over here, got a nice little recreation area. There's some sim pits over there for people who need to test that kind of stuff. We got this cool Krigeri Bengal carrier. Come over here. Go down the nose here. Watch this. It's very cool. I'm gonna go over here.
Minchia, è gigante sta nave qua.
Can you see me?
Ma vecchio, ma quanta roba ci sta lì dentro?
Hi, Mom. All right.
Hanno già spoilerato un pezzo di hangar della Bengal. Così.
What are you doing, Richard Towler? All right. I thought John went to Washington, D.C. Let's see, what else we got? We got cool Voyager bar here. This is
figo però il posto, proprio so lavorare in posto così.
Goodies, coffee, stuff like that. Hey, who remembers the big coffee controversy of 2016 where everybody took to Reddit and pondered the question, do devs deserve coffee? I do. You want to see what next year's big controversy is? Check this out. I'm going to come over here. Do devs deserve coffee? Welcome to the Stargarita machine.
Pensa che i soldi che abbiamo speso vanno per queste cose qua. Lo Stargarita machine.
I don't know. Go to Reddit and let us know. All right, let's see. Let's go over here. Competition. Oh, competition winners. We have the list of competition winners. Can we put that on the screen? Yeah, sorry, competition winners. Remember the competition for the CitizenCon winners? The people made the videos, and we gave them a Kruger L21 Wolf. We actually have the names. They're behind me. Look.
I video stupidi che abbiamo visto all'inizio erano una competizione che hanno fatto loro. E questi qua, che sono i nomi che spuntano di sotto, hanno vinto una Kruger, una Wolf.
There's like 3 different kinds of pizza here. What if we just combine them into like a challenger situation here?
Che animale.
That's a CitizenCon throwback if you're not familiar with. So I have now crafted my own pizza experience. And that is a terrible segue into our next segment. Gemma, Gemma, are you there?
Yes, Jared.
Can we fire up the FPS crafting segment while I try to chew this off camera?
Oh, crafting!
We sure can. Roll, BT.
Dai. Dai, vediamo.
A crafted experience. Finalmente un po' di ciccio, dai. Effettivamente si è reso conto che manca mezz'ora, capito?
Star Citizen, at its heart, will always be an enormous sandbox experience, where you can set out to tackle the universe in whatever ways you want. But that doesn't mean we can't shape parts of the universe here and there to better suit our needs. That goes for both you and us. Let's start this part of the show with a look at how crafting is going to change everything from resource gathering, refining, and even combat when it comes online in the next few months.
In the next few months?
First version of crafting
qualche mese.
is going to be quite small in scale. We're going to use it as a kind of a concentrated effort to allow the players to experience the initial UI, the flow of gathering materials of different quality, and using those to craft items which are better than what they have currently in the game.
The first version is going to be primarily FPS items that you can craft, weapons.
O cacciano qualcosa a fine anno, prima di Natale o dopo Capodanno? Cioè,
No, secondo me questo se ne parla già nel 2026.
And armor search, you improve, and those items, those ships, those vehicles, the armor and weapons, that's how you progress in Star Citizen. Crafting isn't just a progression mechanic for creating new items, it's also a fundamental change to how we handle resources in the game. The materials that you collect, how you refine them, quality matters.
Crafting the weapons, you'll be able to have some quality materials to influence the item stats on those weapons.
It'll be somewhat random, potentially weighted on the location of the material. Some will have a higher chance of higher quality. And once you take those materials to your crafting bench, the fabricator, you can use them to craft, and the different attributes will be increased based on the quality of the materials you use. It's not just iron ore anymore, it's iron ore of the quality that you know will get you the stats for the item that you desire. And it's not just mining, it's essentially every resource we can get our hands on.
To support this, we also need major changes to inventory so that all of these new resources that you're collecting, you can see what you have, you can order it better, you can understand what you have in your inventory.
We won't have the new refining crafting system yet. We'll be using the existing ones. Those will pass the quality through into the refined materials, which you can then take to your crafting machine and start making your personal items. Once you have your blueprint and your quality materials that you've refined, then you can put them together on the item fabricator. This will be pretty much what we showed in last year's CitizenCon, with the UI letting you assign your quality resources to different aspects of the item. Once you're happy with what you see on the preview, you'll be able to click to craft, and it'll get queued up, and your result will be produced sometime later. You'll be able to get the new crafting machine from shops in most landing zones. You'll be able to bring it up on your freight elevator and use it in your personal hangar, or tractor beam it around and stick it on a ship if you want to use it from there.
Hanno fatto vedere il nuovo inventario, ma non hanno detto quando lo cacciano fuori.
Mi sa dopo il crafting. Cioè non ci sarà col crafting.
And then you can use that blueprint to craft the item that it is that you've got the blueprint for. So it should be a good reason to go and test all the different various missions in the game.
The advantage of crafting your own items is that they'll be better than anything that you could buy from shops. You'll be able to increase and improve item stats that are relevant to your gameplay. Maybe a gun will shoot faster, maybe it'll do some more damage, or your armor will have greater resistances against environmental effects or incoming fire. You might be wondering, what about the upgrade and research? That will be coming in a subsequent release. We're happy with this initial scope for crafting.
It's going to be so valuable for us as devs to kind of get the metrics in, get the feedback in, because then we can make the changes that, you know, they only become obvious, so to speak, when you have kind of mass amounts of data and mass amounts of users using it. So I'm very excited to get it out in the wild.
It's our intention to get crafting out on tech preview by the end of the year and get the testing we need so we can release it when it's ready.
Ok, quindi entro la fine dell'anno faranno una tech preview.
So that's one way you'll be crafting your own experiences in the Star Citizen universe. But what about us? Where do we get to hone in and craft a bespoke experience here and there, specifically tailored to individual or small group play? Well, that's where instancing comes in. And I'm going to let Benji tell you a little bit more.
We're bringing instancing to Star Citizen in 2026. Why are we doing it, and how will it work? So if you've played any content in 2025 in Star Citizen, you know that most of these areas were in actual PvP zones where other players could interfere. Instancing is a means to create an environment where designers can create tailored content that's tuned to a specific group size, but it is also protected from outside interference. It's not to say that we don't love PvP. I'm a PvP guy. PvP me, bro. But like most MMOs, a good balance between a dangerous overworld and a protected instances is needed. Right now, we don't have this ability, and this is something we really need in order to give you a sense of progression that is tailored and balanced to a tunable amount of groups, so the difficulty matches the group size. There's a beginning and an end. It doesn't mean that that doesn't fit in our overworld strategy, meaning getting to the instance is dangerous, exiting the instance is dangerous, or can be interfered with others. But at least when you're playing the content, we can actually make something that's curated for one experience. So before anybody says this is only a PvE thing, this technology can also be applied to unlock curated PvP experiences that are as seamless as the PvE ones. So it's not about one thing or the other. It's really about unlocking developers' ability to create curated content. So that said, how will it work? Instancing is really an evolution over static to dynamic meshing. We want your instances to be as seamless as your instance hangers, meaning that when you take an elevator, you exit the elevator, you're inside the instance. A gateway opens, you cross that gateway, you're now into your instances. Could be also a quantum jump into an instance that you don't even see. The transition is just like a dynamic mesh transition. And so throughout the universe, we will be able to add these areas that are open or closed instances that allow you to join in either with a party and have a reserved instance for your party, or join an open instances that has a number of slots. And so some of those areas will be completely instanced on different servers. This allows us to leverage the compute power of the entire mesh. The closed ones will be really to drive one piece of content. You enter and exit seamlessly, just like we do with your instance hangers currently. Let's go and find out what one of our first instances will be.
Ok. Siege to Horizon? Oddio, sì!
Was an event we did
Sì!
previously, which created a gameplay scenario where the player had to run through and progress through.
Oddio, non ci credo, finalmente! È una missione che c'era tanto tempo fa che poi hanno tolto. Ovviamente fatta male, cioè però era figo. Era figo perché tu andavi in queste piattaforme qua, che sono queste qua di Horizon, a fare una missione da mercenario in FPS e ti diceva di ammazzare della gente. Faranno una missione istanziata in quel posto lì.
Beh, figo, dai.
Sì, cioè deve essere figo.
Spero si possa volare giù.
Of floating platforms in Orison.
And you are there to kill these sort of lieutenants of this terrorist organization and take back control. So in our current thinking, Siege of Orison is designed for about 15 to 20 people fire team. So you, your friends, or your org will go in, you'll all have sort of dedicated roles. Some of you might be the tank who brings in the heavy weapons and sort of pulls the fire. Some of you might sit at the back and
Mi sembra di capire che l'armor nuova tanchi parecchio.
Che bella. Perché la prenderò subito?
Però è lenta.
Che cazzo me ne frega?
Cioè, almeno nel video si vede che camminava, non sembrava neanche corresse.
Anche l'altra sera quando ero ferito camminavo.
But when we released it, we fixed the problem with 2 DGSs on one server that was fighting for resources. And with that, we also upped the player count to 100. So when it first debuted, it was already too full for what it was designed for.
It was a massive operation at the time. I think that bringing it back and giving it a refresher will be a fantastic addition back into the PU.
So imagine if Siege was a instance that you could go in and play solo, or if it was a public event that you could go with your friends, or you could join up with random players on the server. There's lots of ways that we want to take a look at Siege, how we can make it a more approachable piece of content.
I'm excited to say the least to bring back Siege of Orison to status and to sort of have it be one of the first tests that we have for instancing and really get it back to sort of a core experience point where it should be. So while the next season is quite heavily focused on
cioè la mia paura è che istanzino anche delle robe, cioè dei game loop, tipo hanno fatto vedere Lator prima.
The player's life in those two systems as well.
Cioè, o se proprio lo devi istanziare, ok, vado lì col mio gruppo, non ho rotture di cazzo, però non posso minare la roba figa. Vabbè, vediamo.
Outside of Nyx, there's still one more exciting use for instancing we're building right now. It's an earlier look than normal, and some of it is still in whitebox, but we're excited to share the first look at a major content release of 2026, and what it means for progression-based gameplay. As an evolution of our Building Interior initiative, you won't discover it by accident, because when it's complete, it will be found deep within the heart of Levski itself. This is the Municipal Works.
Sticky?
So inside the facility, you'll find huge vaporization chambers, old processing plants, industrial tunnels, and eventually into the old turbines which are still pumping heat into the old rock.
So this is the true history of Levski. This is a place where you won't see in Lorville, you won't see in I-18 or the other landing zone. It's the pure basis of Levski. You will have, of course, metal and tunnels and more structural place, but you will also see a lot of rock and cave. So it's not a place you go to take vacation. It's really a place you go to fix stuff.
Not everybody has what it takes to come down there and do the job that needs to be done.
All of your sewage systems have stopped working. Everything's going to quite literally. And so the player is tasked with their group, most likely, to go into there, take out the outlaws and get the facility working.
Ah, ok. È la parte sotterranea di Levski.
So let me get this straight. This is literally a mission to fix the toilets of Levski.
It's not just the toilets. You're also trying to turn on the air. It is a bit more important.
Sotto Levski, sotto queste strutture qua,
polluted air because it's not being cleared properly.
Stile industriali che fanno funzionare la stazione, e si vede che devi scendere giù a fare delle missioni, tipo uccidere, che ne so, una fazione nemica, che cazzo ne so, dei criminali, riparare.
A variety of roles. Narratively, it's a real sandbox. Every progression you do will unlock a new area.
Da killer ad idraulico è un attimo.
Ma mi sembra di vedere una contest zone fatta molto più grande, che ci sta, se è così.
Now that we have instancing tech coming online, that allows us to do something that provides really cool gameplay close to the landing zone.
With the missions, that's what will create different overlays or change the spaces or change the progression, but it'll be the instancing which will enable us to create tailored content to you and your group. So you're going to be able to play a part of it, make your progress, and then log off. And then the next time you come online, you'll be able to pick up where you left off.
It's going to allow players to return back to it at different states, depending on how much you've progressed, and be able to keep it going until you've reached sort of the end of the whole 3 chapters.
Where you're not going to have other people getting in your way. It's you, your team, your party.
It's a way of giving players content where they know exactly where they're at and they can keep going back to it and improving sort of their own progress and ability to jump through them in faster and faster times as well.
Beh, ci sta, cioè alla fine ci sono delle serie di cose da fare laggiù in gruppo, anche da solo.
Developers alike to create more crafted experiences within the greater sandbox of the persistent universe. Okay, is that it for me at this point, Jared?
Almost. Throw it back to me, and I've got one more for you after this.
Back to you, Jared.
Everybody's really excited about the year ahead. So that's a brief look at some of the ways in which we're allowing you and our developers to craft a more curated Star Citizen experience. Now, at this point in the show, we are in the home stretch. We've got only one more segment to go. But before we do that, we wanted to check out, we said earlier in the show that we would look at what you were saying during the show. We looked at how to put YouTube comments on the stream, and it was immediately apparent that we were going to lose our broadcast license, so we're not going to do that. We did find some social media stuff on Twitch, though. Or not,
Volevo mettere
Twitter,
in diretta
X.
I
What is it called now?
commenti di
Let's see what this
YouTube.
says. Let's see, we've got Welcome Back Levski.
Fortunatamente non l'hanno
I'm
fatto.
wearing my glasses. Oh, no. Oh, time to suit up. Let's go get them, says Ubu. I really should have worn my glasses. Cue the bagpipes. That's the other game, Charlie Oscar. Let's see. Nice to see you live, Jared. Mom? Let's see. First CitizenCon after playing for almost a decade in Austin. Oh, nice. Straight out of Klesher, back to the Hex. Photos from Leicestershire. How do you say it? Is that Leicestershire? Leicester? Leicester? I've only been in the UK for 3.5 years. San Jose Bar Citizen Watch Party. Oh, somebody created
Che faranno
a lovely vandal
l'ultimo
mask there.
segmento della stream dopo
Sean Tracy, can
dopo
we
di
get that in
lui e
game?
poi
Just that,
dovrebbe essere
exactly. Just
finito.
scan that, put that in game. All right, so that's a few reactions we're seeing on social media right now. Before we get to our big finale, or the thing we're going to wrap up the show with today,
Che cazzo dicono alla fine?
I did want to talk a little bit about big CitizenCon versus digital CitizenCon versus what we're doing today, which is CitizenCon Direct. Every year, CitizenCon is a monumental task for any number of people, whether that's development, marketing, the support teams, the platform teams. Everybody comes together to make this thing happen and go off, hopefully without a hitch. And so far, we've been doing all right, other than some stuff in the room here. You know who you are. They had to know. But doing CitizenCon is not always the easiest thing for our developers. You might not assume this, but most game developers are not social butterflies. They tend to like to sit quietly in the dark at their computers, like little goblins, and just make digital virtual worlds like this. And then I come in all happy and like, hey, you want to be on video? And they're like, no. And I'm like, it's in your contract. And they're like, oh, yeah. So we thought, we usually do it behind the scenes afterwards, but we thought we'd do a little bit of it here. The folks in the editorial department put together a brief montage of some of the more candid moments from the filming of CitizenCon over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to spend 2 minutes and take a look at that. Let's see what they put together.
How many CitizenCons have you performed in now?
Performed? Just the one.
Nope, my first one.
One last year.
2.
A few.
8 or 9?
Maybe 9 or 10?
Never.
Man, I don't know, man.
Did you like doing it?
Yes, I was completely terrified.
It was good. A bit stressful.
The first live one, I was a mess.
Weird combination of going from insane highs to insane lows.
Live ones.
Because?
It's over.
The live ones are pretty special.
Pre-tap's always fun, but the live events are special, aren't they?
Remember we were at that weird crack house in Anco's?
Right.
I like the live ones. I mean, I love these digital ones. These are the best.
Every time I've done it, it has been a digital one, and I'd like to do one on stage.
Is it because you have a restraining order against you, or?
Didn't know if I was going to be sick, if I was going to lose my stomach.
How hard is it to keep your eyes open on stage?
That's another problem with the lights. They're kind of, I'm realizing through this sentence that I'm closing my eyes as I speak. Do I do that a lot?
I am a very shy individual, so this is me just trying to get out of my shell.
Getting the crowd to react to the ideas that we've been working on for so long.
We can react. Watch. Everybody. Yay!
Yay! I can feel your passion from here.
Cut the camera. Counting you down, like, you've got 30 seconds. I'm like, do I stand up? Do I sit down? Do I drink? Do I not? Do I talk?
This will be the best one yet. That's right. Because it's nice and short.
Is this all supposed to be usable content? Because I could be different.
No. Of all your nicknames, why is Moist Master your favorite?
I think you mean least favorite, and because it has the word moist in it. I mean, come on.
We'll give you a new nickname by the end of this.
Sounds good. Could do with
right.
one.
Let's get started.
So for those of you watching at home or at the watch parties, you're like, why are we showing that? I put that in there because I'm eternally grateful for all of the CIG staff and developers who take the time to appear on these things.
Non lo so, ma credo che sia in costante crescita anche il personale.
Vabbè, sì, quello sì.
The easiest thing for everybody. And on behalf of the community, if I can speak for them in this regard, I want to say thank you for participating in these things each and every year that we have them. Now, let's wrap things up here. So, let's see, how do I want to do this? At this point, we've only got one major story left to tell. But before we do that, we wanted to do one more check-in on something we started last year. Last year, Rich Tyler took the stage and presented his roadmap to 1.0. And we didn't want to go an entire year without talking to the senior game director himself to get his update on that 1 year later. So we're going to throw it to him, and we're going to go to our last segment, and when we come back, we'll say our goodbyes. And if you're at a watch party, it's time to get... I was going to say... that's not a word I can say on the camera. Let's just go. Let's just throw it back to me. Go to me from 1 week ago.
Road to
Ok.
1.0.
Vediamo cosa hanno cambiato.
Last year, Senior Game Director Rich Tyler took to the stage and revealed our plan for 1.0. Now, before we end this year's CitizenCon Direct, we wanted to take a few moments and follow up on that reveal from last year, to do as we've done today and look at the year ahead. So, Rich, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Well, you're welcome.
All right, so we're going to jump right into it. Everybody knows the only constant in game development is change. So I'm going to ask you outright, what's changed about the road to 1.0?
Well, fortunately, nothing. It still remains our North Star. The team is busy working towards that goal in the background, and every patch this year has moved us towards that goal. And if you haven't watched the Star Citizen 1.0 presentation from last year, I highly recommend you do so, because everything in it is still relevant as of today.
You mentioned every patch this year has moved us towards that goal, so I want to dig deeper into that. We've done, at this point, 9 releases in this year, more than any year prior. How does each one of these not just sit as their own moment in time, but move us forward on this road to 1.0?
Well, last year I discussed the framework of 1.0, how all those complex systems can tie together. And one of the core aspects of that was the main story, which became the spine of the universe, which brought all of the locations, mission givers, guilds, and all the different areas of the game to the players. Now, what I didn't talk about from last year was all of the content that was going to support that framework, add the flesh to the bones, should we say. And I think that's where this year has moved us towards that goal. If you think about previous events of previous years, they've generally been locations that we've put into the verse, but they've been transient. We've taken them away, like Siege of Orison or Zenithreat. We've added them to game, and then they've been moved away. And I think with the addition of the patches this year, when you look at the Hathor facilities, Onyx facility, these are permanent additions to the world that not only have their own story, as when we release them with the patches, but they'll also become points of interest and areas that the larger 1.0 narrative will utilize.
Since we're on story, I'm going to stay with this here. Since we launched the PU back in 2015, it's always been this sandbox where players can do what they want. They can bring their own story to the verse, and that'll never change. But how important is it that we also build this concurrent narrative of our own, this crafted experience, if you will, alongside that?
Well, we're trying to create a living, breathing universe. And that includes both the player stories that you mentioned, that they can go and enjoy and create their own memories together. But it also means that we want to have a universe that gives back. We want areas and locations to feel like they're believable and real-life locations. And if you look throughout this year and the patches that we've worked towards, we've had an overarching story that's moved from patch to patch, and we're going through some of those cycles right now. We've also been introducing mission content that has fully voiced dialogue and facial animation, which allows us to inject some of the meaning and the why to what you are doing as a player. And I think story is integral to Star Citizen as a connective tissue that ties all of these different complex systems together, because it takes players on that journey throughout the game.
to see this big turn this year to start injecting story into the verse. I think people are really responding to it. So everybody knows, and you mentioned just now, that this year we changed a whole lot about how we operate and how we release things. How do you think that's gone?
I think it's gone very well. I think if the mantra that I've always been pushing this year at the beginning of January was patch always goes. And I think this year has seen a different development strategy for how we've been moving the game forward. That's where this different strategy has allowed us to really take a wider approach. And we also have to remember that Star Citizen is played by tens of thousands of players every day. And while we have lofty future goals, we still have to make decisions right now that make the game fun for the people that are playing it all the time, playing it as their daily game. If you look at previous years, we've had to hold a patch back, we've had to make concessions, mainly due to around a feature may not have been ready or right to go into there.
There were 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months between patches.
Exactly, and I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for the players. I don't think it's good for the development team. I think it's better to have regular cadence of drops. One good example is this year for A Line of Mine. People probably don't know, but A Line of Mine, when you turned on the laser, it was actually supposed to reveal the sandworm Valakar. And I played it, and it didn't hit the quality that I wanted to go into the game.
Cioè, ha detto che il laserone inizialmente non serviva per aprire la grotta e minare i minerali, ma serviva per aprire una grotta che rivelava poi il vermone. Però non erano contenti del risultato e quindi l'hanno cambiato.
From radar and scanning, FPS, the new quantum, to inventory, engineering, and crafting, and all of those features are going to be coming very, very soon for players to get their hands on. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and say that if I was go back to the start of the year,
che radar FPS, ingegneria, eccetera, dovrebbero arrivare abbastanza presto. Poi, che cosa intendono con abbastanza presto, questo non lo so.
I've said this before, I've said it internally, I've said it out there, I'm going to say it
Però
right
una
now,
cosa che mi è piaciuta che ha detto è che a lui piace il fatto che stiano facendo molte patch. Cioè, quindi a lui piace il fatto che fanno uscire le patch in maniera più costante. Perché mi ricordo gli inizi quando giocavo, prima che uscisse una patch dovevano passare 4 mesi, una roba del genere. Cioè uscivano 3-4 patch all'anno. Via quest'anno quante ne sono uscite? 9? 9, 10? Boh, non mi ricordo.
9, la prossima è la 10ª.
Cioè...
Si devono dare una calmata però.
No, ci sta così, ci sta. Cioè è giusto far così, se possono farlo.
So if you think about this year, like you mentioned, we've been having fully voiced NPCs, but a lot of those missions and those NPCs, they're talking to you, they're talking at you. Right. You don't get to talk back to them. Now obviously you get to interact with them through your actions, you get to go and do their mission and you get to move that along and then they talk to you again, but it's a one-way conversation.
We're missing that conversation wheel.
Exactly. The next part would be physical mission givers. That's something that we're going to be working towards very soon, with Battaglia being the first one coming back in the verse. And just to be clear, we will be bringing all the mission givers eventually back.
Tra l'altro ha detto che adesso quando accettiamo una missione, c'è tipo compare nello schermino qualcuno che ci parla, no? Quando accettiamo magari quelli per le Onyx o magari delle bounty così, no? Che ci sta. E ha detto che la prossima iterazione di questa cosa qua, cioè lui vorrebbe che ci fosse una persona, un NPC fisico con cui interagire per farti dare la missione, che in realtà agli inizi c'era già.
Mi ricordo che
c'era.
Why those decisions have been made at the time they've been made, but rest assured that Star Citizen 1.0 is still our North Star. That's what we're still aiming towards, and that's what we're going to be moving forward with every patch next year as well.
And remembering when mission givers were first introduced, they sometimes became a bottleneck Is there a role in instancing, which we learned about earlier today? Is there a role for instancing in that, in helping with mission givers?
Yes, partially. It will be one mechanism that will allow us to have players go to their own individual area of the verse, have that conversation, and then go and continue on into the open world environment. So I think that's where, when we look at instancing provides us one tool that allows us to remove that bottleneck and provide a more seamless experience.
Happy you said that, because that's one of our last topics I want to get to, is how we reconcile instancing with the persistent universe. Like, for the last 10 years now, we've been building this giant, seamless, persistent universe where everybody can come in and play together. And it would be easy to have a first instinct reaction to the idea of instancing and say that's antithetical to everything that Star Citizens. But you mentioned last year these 3 pillars of building Star Citizen in the PU, and I want to know, you said nothing changed, but I want to ask you about this specifically. What are those 3 pillars again, and how does instancing fit within the greater design of Star Citizen?
So the 3 pillars I mentioned last year were open world. That's just like the missions you love today. You can go and play, there's other players there, and you can go and enjoy that together. Then we have instancing, which I'll talk a bit about more, but similar to municipal works that we've talked about previously. And then the 3rd pillar was dynamic content, which would be content that's generated by the activities of the players. And I think it's very easy to become myopic around one specific thing when we're talking about it a lot, when it's the next stage of our development. And I think you could reverse it. If we'd have made a game that was all instance, and then I'd come on camera and said, hey guys, we're going to start doing it open world, it would be like, oh, is the game changing? Are we doing open world now? Is open world the new North Star that's going to take us this way? And it's not. It's just one more tool that's going to allow us to offer different and dynamic experiences for players to go and engage in. Now, when I talk about instancing isn't always what you'd imagine as a solo instance experience where it's only just you. We're going to have several different versions of instances. Some are going to be closed instances, which will be like the new player experience. We'll be able for you to go in by yourself, for us to teach you the ropes in a safe environment so that you can understand how to play the complex game that we've made. But we'll also have open instances, like a cantina or a bar, where we might say, hey, we only want 50 people to come in here because we've got mission givers and we've got other NPCs for you to talk to, and you would just walk in and it would be seamless. You wouldn't know that there was an instance, it's not going to get a loading screen, you would just seamlessly walk into that location, it would be full of other players and NPCs, and you can go and enjoy the content. And that's, I think, something that instancing is going to provide us, it's going to give us a tool to offer different dynamic
basta vedere con gli hangar.
content, as I'd say.
Poi ovvio, qua è già più complicato, ovviamente.
Infatti gli hangar, basta vedere con gli hangar quante volte ti esplode la nave.
Ma a me in realtà zero, solo a te esplode
prima,
Apex.
non più come prima.
Cioè,
andate a fanculo.
Cioè, solo a te, cioè. Poi vabbè, i bug comunque ci saranno, quello è ovvio. Però, cioè, sono cose che poi pian piano risolvono.
The full Star Citizen experience.
All right, so we've hit a lot of the bigger topics, the feature work, engineering, and FPS crafting coming to tech preview soon, stuff like this. We've talked about instancing and how that's going to work within the universe. But I want to ask you this one last big one. It's very easy to say Star Citizen is this kind of game, and that kind of game. Those of us who spend our days making it know better. It's an everything game. It's everything we can make it game. It just is. But at the core of this is still spaceships. You know, that life of spaceships.
Qualsiasi MMO della parte ha degli elementi o degli spazi stanziati. Possono essere missioni o dei luoghi, quindi cioè, ci sta che ci siano, secondo me. Poi ovvio, devono essere fatti bene. Quello è ovvio, ma come qualsiasi cosa.
Has a role and has content that you can go and enjoy in the universe. For example, right now,
Cioè, la mia paura più che altro è che mettano troppa roba istanziata. Perché se tu inizi ad istanziare qualsiasi cosa, perde un po' il senso di quello che è Star Citizen. Perché Star Citizen per me, cioè, è bello anche perché, non so, tu fai un determinato game loop e dal nulla ti arriva, che ne so, ti arriva un altro gruppo. È lì che fai, ingaggi, vi alleate, vi fate le cose insieme. Cioè, è bello anche per quello Star Citizen. Quindi spero lo bilancino bene sta cosa qua.
Sì, ma infatti credo che sia, cioè, nel loro volere quello di dare più tipi di gameplay, più tipi di esperienze.
Sì, ma ci sta,
Quindi credo che varieranno un po'.
But rather than me spoil it, I'll let Ian and the team go into the details on that.
He had a twinkle in his eye. Ian, take it away.
Boh, l'ultimo segmento.
So the persistent universe has existed for over 10 years now. During that time, we've created lots of gameplay systems, we've added hundreds of locations, we've added lots of mission activities for different purposes: combat, cargo, mining, salvaging. But for combat ships, the only thing you've been able to do is fight other combat ships. In 2026, this changes. We're going to be delivering a spaceship-focused activity space which incentivizes the use of different gameplay roles. These are going to be scenarios where you're going to have to plan and strategize and create operational tactics to overcome your objective. So what you're going to see is very early. It's early in the pipeline process, and it's going to come online about mid next year. But we're really excited about the content we're creating, so we want to share with you a super early look at what we're building in a space we're calling Tactical Strike Groups.
Tactical Strike Groups?
The People's Alliance are still trying to get to the bottom of what this new faction is really doing in the Nix system.
They've sent a capital ship to check out a station and run into more than they can take care of themselves.
Unfortunately, that team came under attack and members of their groups were taken hostage. Now they've reached out to Intersect, who've reached out to you to help recover the pilot. Of course, it's unwise to do this alone, so you'll need to put a team together to attack the station.
When you arrive, you will have this big asteroid, kind of broken asteroid, and on this you will have this space where you will find three big arms. You will see in the middle, you will have this big energy core. Everything here has a purpose. It's not just for the show, just something nice to see.
You'll see a People's Alliance-owned Idris that's just on the outside, and it's going to be getting harassed by this unknown faction that you have met before.
So your first objective here is to clear out the ships. There'll be waves of these ships, so this is where you want your light or your medium or your heavy fighters, whichever playstyle you prefer.
So while one part of your group is dealing with the fighters, now it's time to actually assault the station.
This station has been outfitted to resist all of the obvious way of attacks.
Somehow they've incorporated Vanduul capital ship killing turrets. These turrets ignore small fighters, and they have the firepower to destroy even the biggest capital ships.
Cazzo. Ah, così almeno bilancia un po' la questione.
The idea of these is so we can sort of make it so we can mix up that ship combat, and not everyone can just bring the biggest ship and win just because they have the biggest ship.
Bravi.
Che cazzo! E ditelo, cazzo! Ditelo.
Andata la Polaris con quel laserino lì.
Vaffanculo. Ci sta, è giusto così, cazzo.
Sì.
Take down anything that may damage your bigger ships.
Cioè che poi, ecco, i cacciapiccoli dovranno far giù queste torrette qua. Ok.
E non verranno targettate, immagino, da questi.
This turret has shields that you've never seen before. It won't take any kind of damage. Your missiles won't do anything,
Ah.
your lasers won't do anything, your ballistics won't do anything to them. But
Allora
like
che
everything,
cazzo
they
devo
do
fare?
have a weakness.
Da
You have
dentro.
to cut the power to their shields.
Ecco.
To do that, that actually brings you to
Vabbè.
your first objective, the power relays.
Ci sta.
So the exterior has a number of power relays
Ah, no,
that
fuori.
are holding the doors closed so that
Vabbè,
you can't
vabbè.
get in.
You have to find them, you have to target them, and you have to destroy them. But it may not be as easy as it seems.
Here's our first wrinkle. The power relays have their own shields that are resistant to energy-based attacks.
We know how much you like using laser repeaters, but so do these guys.
Ah, solo il balistico.
Capital ship can't get close enough
no,
because
no.
of the turrets.
So ships with explosive or ballistic ordnance will be needed here. That's
Okay.
torpedo ships like your Retaliator or Gladiator, or even another fighter with ballistics loadout. That's going to take you a while.
Vabbè, comunque non è che la... Vabbè, dai. Cioè,
Once the power
hanno
relays
messo
have
un
been taken
interruttore.
down, the
voglio
station
dire.
opens up.
And this is where things get really cool.
Now it's time for you to fly your ship inside the station.
Yeah, you, in your ship, fly into the superstructure of this station.
How cool is that? I feel like this is a proud dad moment. Thank you, Jared.
We're just going to call it what it is. It's a trench run.
Oh shit.
Entri
Vabbè, ma...
dentro.
Sì, ma cioè, stanno spoilerando
So as you
tutto
enter the
quanto.
structure,
Cioè, a
you'll
sto
see
punto non
cool
la faccio
units
più la
along the sides of
missione,
the
o quel che è.
Ma no, ma se ti dicono queste cose, chissà quante altre cose ci sono da...
Minchia, quante persone si schianteranno qua.
You'll fly into one and then there'll be a core
Pix,
in
non
the
me
center
l'hai
and then you'll move out another trench.
Ma è
Non
proprio
ci
come
penso
quella...
neanche.
È proprio come la morte nera comunque su Star Wars.
Sì.
At this point, the core is still protected, so these are essentially strafing runs.
Oddio, che figata.
There are objects to avoid. You're going to have to be able
Tanto
to
non ho capito
dodge.
se è una
You're
roba
gonna have to move
istanziata,
quickly.
se è un game loop aperto, chiamalo così.
Because the shield generator that you're targeting is emitting lots of distortion damage.
Ostia!
Aia.
Invece
So once the
ciao.
cooling units are out, that exposes the core to overheat, which means that you can attack it from the inside and also from exhaust ports on the outside of the station. This core is armored and just takes a whole lot of damage. Once the power core goes down, the turrets come down, and then the capital ships can get closer.
Ok, ho capito.
Ok.
Why is that important? Because during all of this, you spend a lot of
Ci sta,
ammo and
così
munitions
uno
and
da
ballistics,
solo,
and you're going to want to
cioè
top up.
così uno non può prendersi da solo con la Polaris e andare a fare la
Sì, sì.
missione, devi andare con
Ma
qualcuno che ti
infatti
copre.
era il loro obiettivo, cioè non volevano che tu andassi lì con la nave più grossa che hai e facessi tutto il game loop o boh, come cazzo chiamarlo.
È giusto, sono uno, cioè è un po' una rottura di... cioè...
No, ci sta che sia così, infatti.
Are designed to have other ships land inside them.
Of course, it'll be more than just those two ships, and you'll find out more once we get closer to release. But this is a really important feature that we're really excited to get out.
If you're not
Rifornimento
bringing
in
your own
nave?
Idris, the People's Alliance has a Idris there that can provide a safe port in a storm, allow you to set back up and head back out.
And it's a good thing that you've rearmed and refueled too, because now another group of ships is coming to attack the People's Alliance Idris.
Sì, rifornimento in nave.
Sì.
Figo.
Oh, così ha senso andare giù con la Polaris insieme ad
So while
altre
the fighters are
navi.
protecting the Idris,
sì.
what's happening at the station? Well, that's where the dropships come in.
Ok.
Now you've got to take a fire team in. You've got to land. You've got to fight through an onslaught of
Ma che cazzo,
FPS
ma che
enemies
figata è
that
sta
belong to
missione
this
qua?
Sì, bello.
unknown faction, and you've got to open a hangar door which will allow you to release captives from the station.
Ah, perché è una missione di salvataggio questa qua.
After you've opened the doors and that person's taken off, you've just got to make sure they get to safety.
Che dovremmo salvare un NPC che si buggerà e non salirà in nave.
Sicuro, sicuro.
Si lancerà in aereo senza casco.
You versus the enemies in the station. But the enemies in the station have their own enemies.
The Vandal neighbors who really don't like these guys for some reason come in and wreak havoc on everything.
And they're not going to discriminate between you and the station. They're out for blood.
Vabbè, i Vandal potevano non spoilerarlo, dai. Cioè, era bello se noi eravamo lì a fine missione, tutti contenti, così, oh, boh, andiamo a casa, arrivavano i Vandal.
You're on a time limit. Vandal are coming, they're going to come hard, they're going to keep coming, you're going to have one hell of a fight.
Quello stava già facendo il lato con i biscotti, guarda.
Sì. Niente. Ma che cazzo ha sparato? Vecchio, minimo c'è la capital dei Vandal.
Sì, sicuro, eccola qui.
La madonna.
Sì, l'avevano detto che c'era una capital dei Vandal,
Sì, non pensavo di vederla già stasera.
Ma molto Avatar.
So invested in this. So throughout 2025, we created a variety of content. Some of it was very focused on FPS combat. So personally, driving a more vehicle-based experience was very important to me. This is a defining statement that I want to do in 2026. We're a spaceship game. There are prized possessions. To the objects we fall in love with. This is the content we want to create, which creates scenarios and roles for you to use those spaceships. We won't get to all roles initially, but we should see this as a landmark, a position where we can see a gameplay space which incentivizes the use of different ships and scenarios to clear objectives and complete missions in a variety of roles. And in the future, we can use this to expand on. So I hope you're all just as excited as I am for tactical strike groups. They're gonna be fantastic.
Vogliono spostare il focus quest'anno su missioni con le navi, perché effettivamente se ci pensate quest'anno hanno fatto più missioni in FPS.
Sì.
E questa missione qua che abbiamo appena visto nasce appunto per questo motivo qua. No, ma ci sta.
Okay.
Ci sta.
Why do you still have the puppet? John, come home. All right, so tactical strike groups. You know, it's been a long road for the last 10 years. The PU's been around. We've done lots to build stuff for mining ships and for salvage ships, and as Rich said, we're currently building out even more for those. And our first refueling missions coming online in 2026. But combat missions. Oh, hi, Aaron Roberts. But finally having enough of the foundation in place that we can begin to build real spaceship operations, in any other MMO they'd call dungeons. It's really exciting for me, and that's why we're ending the show this year with that. So yeah, that's been CitizenCon Direct. Thank you for taking the time to share this with us. Again, this is just a glimpse at some of what's coming in 2026. I've seen the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat like, oh, you're spoiling everything. I promise, we ain't. So before we let you go, that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Ha detto non abbiamo spoilerato niente.
Shouldn't be mine. It should belong to our founders and CEO. So take it away, Chris Roberts.
I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into some of what the team is cooking for the near future. Of course, we're not going to spoil everything that's currently in progress, and many features we haven't discussed today are in active development, like base building, social, and trade tools that are very much a priority. These, along with bringing the final polished features from Squadron 42 into the persistent universe, will make next year the most exciting yet for Star Citizen. Finally, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone at CIG for working so tirelessly and with so much passion to deliver something that is already special and will only get more so as we continue. And of course, to all of you for making all this possible with your support and feedback. We couldn't do this without all of you, something that I and the team appreciate every day. We are very lucky to be allowed the time and the money to build a game of all of our dreams, something that is only more apparent as the video game business becomes more monolithic. We are one of the few large independents left standing, and there is no way we would be allowed to dream as big as we are on an original game and take the time to achieve that dream if we were part or funded by any of the few remaining mega game companies. So thank you. And I look forward to seeing you all in the verse this coming year.
Ok.
Finito, mi sa, eh?
Sì, mi sa di sì. A meno che non piazzino una bombetta così a random alla fine, ma non credo.
Ah, e comunque... Bene, allora non resta che andare a controllare sul sito tra oggi e domani eventuali offerte, cose del genere, no?
Ma secondo me le offerte le faranno più avanti, cioè in teoria, se non sbaglio, verso novembre barra fine novembre
Insieme a CITIZENCON non dovevano mettere qualcosa di...
ha messo il... te lo dico subito. Andiamo a vedere. Ha messo una roba, un pack di
Allora,
qualcosa.
se qua è finito io mi sposto su una schermata e andiamo a
Sì,
vedere anche
secondo
qua.
secondo me è finito.
Perché... Anche secondo me, perché è un'interruzione. Sì, finito, proprio in questo istante.
Finito.
Oh, bene, bene, dai. Allora, non è stato malissimo. Credo che un po' tutti noi ci aspettassimo qualcosina in più, eh. Però, anche perché sì, hanno detto tutto, non hanno detto niente, non hanno dato date se non per Nix. Ci hanno fatto capire che Nix sarà presente il mese prossimo, nella prossima patch. Cioè, che è tanta roba comunque, eh? Cioè, assolutamente. Però tante cose che avrei voluto sentire non le ho sentite, tipo quando cazzo ci mettono l'inventario soprattutto, sai che io aspettavo quella cosa lì principalmente. Non sono stati molto precisi, speravo un po' più di precisione nel come dire, nel dire quando queste cose avremmo potuto toccarle con mano. Allora aspetta.
Diciamo che la precisione non è mai stato il loro forte. Cioè, infatti anche quando non mi ricordo di che cosa stava parlando, ma stava dicendo, mi sa, qualcosa su qualcosa che andava in tech preview a fine anno. Ha detto, a fine anno andrà in tech preview, poi l'intenzione di rilasciarlo l'anno seguente se sarà pronto. Cioè, quindi vuol dire se è pronto lo vedremo, se non è pronto lo vedremo nel 2027 addirittura.
Allora, vediamo il Pledge Store. Non sembra
Ah,
essere
guarda,
cambiato.
ci sono le ali nuove però, eh? Hai visto?
Sono andato a vedere subito i pacchetti iniziali, perché ero
Sì.
interessato a un pacchetto iniziale con un LT, però i pacchetti iniziali non sono cambiati. Warbound, aspetta che rimetto in inglese qua, che è meglio.
Paladin $400.
Pacca. Beh dai, allora meno di quello che mi aspettavo, diciamo.
Sì, dai, cioè, per l'utilità che ha, ma sì, cioè.
Allora,
La Stinger 350, la Shiv, che è quella mezza catti, mezza tutto il resto, 164.
Tu sei in Ships.
Io sono sono andato in Pledge Store e sto guardando le prime cose che
ok,
mi sono
nella
comparse
pagina
davanti.
iniziale.
Sì.
Vediamo. Sì, eccole qua, la Stinger, la Shiv, la Paladin. 10 anni... Ah, 10 anni di LT?
Non lo so.
100...
Cioè,
No,
non so
che
cosa voglia dire quello.
120 mesi di... No, vabbè, no. Scherzavo. 10 anni,
Sì, anche
non
lì
so perché.
non hanno, cioè non hanno proprio, cioè non hanno
Menzionato
manco
l'LT.
menzionato l'LT o robe del genere. Sì, è vero che ne hanno parlato l'anno scorso, però, sai, magari una precisazione in più mi sarebbe piaciuto
Allora, la
quest'anno.
Paladin sta a 350 euro.
Ah, perché tu ce l'hai in euro, io ce l'ho in dollari.
Sì, vabbè, puoi cambiarlo qui in alto a
Sì, 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 sì.
destra.
Non ci ho mai fatto caso. Aspetta che lo
350 euro,
cambio.
vabbè, non li vedranno mai i miei 350 euro, neanche,
No, no, ma...
neanche 144 per la, per la
Sì, ma
Shiv.
sai che a me piace però?
Sì, anche a
Boh,
me.
non lo so,
Mi stuzzica.
Boh,
Perché è una
cioè,
Atlas con qualcosa in più, hai capito?
sì, 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 no, ma poi c'è anche il fatto che chi l'ha creata, lui è uno che prende appunto pezzi di nave da diversi
C'ha
fornitori.
No, c'ha l'LTE.
C'ha l'LTE?
C'ha l'LTE. Lifetime Insurance. Ok, ho trovato il mio token.
Vai con questa?
Allora,
Allora, ce l'ha
devo
anche la Stinger, vedo.
Allora, si può comprare con i crediti, giusto? Io do dentro i miei
Penso
pacchetti le cose che ho
di...
acquistato e prendo lei.
Penso di sì, cioè non sono esperto a riguardo, lì ti serviva uno come Charger o Minus.
144, se do dentro il pacchetto che ho in più, c'è un pacchetto di gioco in più, devo chiedere più che altro a mio fratello, l'altro.
Cioè io sto pensando a sto
L'armatura,
punto.
do dentro il mio pacchetto, l'armatura e me ne esco
Aspetta
fuori con
però,
30
cioè,
euro,
però sto leggendo che War Bond pledges cannot be obtained with store credit,
Ok, allora no, non si può perché è una war bond, è
però
vero.
che navi hai?
Pleggiate? Neanche una.
Mhm. Neanche una?
No,
Cioè,
io
hai
ho
il
quella
pacchetto
del pacchetto
iniziale?
iniziale che ho upgradato a una cutter, però se do via quel pacchetto lì, mi
Mhm.
tornano indietro 60 euro.
No, ma cioè, adesso, non ripeto, non me ne intendo, ma fare l'upgrade della cos'è, cutter hai detto?
Sì, ma non posso
Dalla...
upgradarla a questa perché... Ah no, sì, invece posso! Così mi
Perché
prende
questa costa...
l'LTE,
Sì, per quel motivo lì.
perché poi
C'era...
prende
Si può fare?
l'LTE più alta, mi sa.
Guarda, te lo dico su... in teoria sì, guarda, te lo dico subito, provo già a farlo.
Sì, 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 no, vengo anch'io a farlo.
Tra l'altro non è ancora nel PU, cioè quindi se lo fai adesso non potrai ancora guidarla, guidi solo
Vabbè,
nella PTU. Però vabbè, cioè, sti cazzi. Fa vedere.
ship
Pledge.
upgrade.
No, aspetta, ship
Partiamo da
upgrade,
una
vabbè, hai ragione.
cutter e andiamo a... Com'è che si chiama?
Eh, Shiv.
La
Eccola qua.
Shiv.
Sì, si può. Poi hai due opzioni. O farla. No, ma aspetta un attimo.
Eccola qua.
Ah, no, però. Non me la fa però in LT.
Sì, io ho due... Vedi qua? Ah, non stai
Quella...
guardando la...
Sì, no, ce l'ho aperto anch'io, ma quello sotto sarebbe quello in LT?
Sì, c'è scritto. Ah, no, scusa, non c'è
Eh no,
scritto.
infatti, c'hai capito, è questo che non mi torna, perché sopra comunque ti dà
120 mesi di insurance
l'assicurazione, esatto.
e sotto c'è scritto solo Shiv. Però costa di più.
Qua servirebbero gli esperti, tipo Charger o Minus. È che non mi sono mai informato riguardo delle T perché
Vabbè, ci guarderò,
non ne hanno
anche
mai parlato.
perché magari guardo su CCU Games che mi faccio una bella chain e risparmio qualcosa. Sì, perché
Tra l'altro te
effettivamente...
la danno anche con la skin, questa qua, la Shiv. E devo dire che anche se non sono i miei colori preferiti, sta skin qua così, su questa nave, secondo me è figa.
120 mesi. Boh, però non capisco. Non me la... Mi seleziona sempre quella che dice lei, però, quella da 150. Vabbè, ci guarderò. È interessante questa cosa, finalmente potrei aggiudicarmi un LT. Dopo ci sarebbe da guardare, perché probabilmente c'è un altro, ci sono alcuni passaggi da poter fare che ti fanno risparmiare qualcosa.
Sì, sì, sì.
Ah, ci guardo, ci guardo. Va bene, e niente, e quest'è. Quindi niente, io direi che possiamo anche staccare la live, tanto quello che dovevamo vedere l'abbiamo visto stasera.
Esatto, esatto.
Allora facciamo così. Oh ragazzi, ci becchiamo tra 5 minuti, che chiudo tutto e arrivo e ci facciamo una partitozza. Vabbè?
Sono già dentro io.
Ok, perfetto. Allora, niente ragazzoli, questo è stato il CitizenCon